B'Shem HaShem Na'aseh v'Natzliach, shiur Torah. Great to be back here in Hollywood. We have amazing questions about God. If you guys have any amazing questions, today is the day to ask. We're going to make a little bit of a change starting next week, Be'ezrat HaShem. We've had the last 35 shiurim, about a year of shiurim here in this house. Baruch Hashem, a lot of kedusha. I can tell you from for sure that just from memory, the amount of people that have done tshuva, actually a couple of people even got close to the conversion, a couple of people got married, a few people have done tshuva. A lot of it has happened over the internet, people that have watched the shiurim from all parts of the world. There's a couple of people from the Middle East, from Saudi Arabia, that there's one guy from Egypt that's in the process of converting. We have a few people from Australia, Baruch Hashem, a few people from England, Manchester, quite a few from the United States, New York, California, Atlanta. Baruch Hashem, a lot of people have enjoyed this shiurim over this last year. So Baruch Hashem, this zchut goes to the mishpacha. Baruch Hashem that has hosted us so kindly and so graciously. Never a hiccup, Baruch Hashem. Each time, each week, like clockwork, always hosting us. And Baruch Hashem, it's we owe them a big akarat tov that they host us over this last year to do the shiurim. And Be'ezrat Hashem, this all of the zchuyot, all of the mitzvot that these people do as a result of watching the shiurim will help this family, will help their loved ones. Starting next week, we're going to start doing the shiur in Sharei Tzion in Sunny Isles, the same place we did the shiur on Thursday. Seems like there's opportunity to do more Kiruv over there with some new crowd, some new blood, and every once in a while you have to make a change to get some new people. Once I get bored of you, once you get bored of me, we have to make a change. The whole key is to bring more people. To bring more people and to get more people to do tshuva. And it seems like that area is lacking. Doesn't have much. But of course, I'm sure we're going to come back and do some other shiurim here, in the future. But either way, there's a lot of atzlacha here. A lot of kedusha in this house. Be'ezrat Hashem, the kedusha will continue. The atzlacha will continue. And Be'ezrat Hashem, all of the merits that we continue having as a result of this Sunday shiur that only started here, Be'ezrat Hashem will continue coming to the family and to their loved ones. The parasha that we had, Parashat Lech Lecha, is a parasha that's full of limud, full of things that a person can talk about, learn about. But the one thing that stands out, I think, to everybody is that the parasha starts with Mesirut Nefesh. The parasha starts with Hashem's request from Avraham Avinu to sacrifice. Sacrifice. What sacrifice? Sacrifice is convenience. Now, of course, Avraham Avinu, the Rambam writes, Avraham Avinu, although he met and understood that God is the creator at the age of 3, it wasn't until the age of 40, that Avraham was really considered a mekir et boro, that he knew his creator. He understood he had a creator at 3 years old. He understood. But the Rambam says that it wasn't until 40 years old that Avraham really knew his creator. So Rav Spivak writes in his book that anyone that thinks that they are going to just one day meet God, one day they're going to watch some shiur, one day they're going to read a book, and all of a sudden they're going to have Emunah. Just like that. They read a book, it motivated them. They have Emunah now. They went to a shiur, the lecturer, fascinating, motivating, inspirational. You just want to jump on stage with him. All of us, oh, I have Emunah now. Emunah now. Rav Spivak says this is the parasha that teaches you you're lying to yourself. If you think you're going to get Emunah without Mesirut Nefesh, you're lying to yourself. Rav Spivak writes in his book. Why does he write it? He says, look at the best example of Emunah. Who had more Emunah than Avraham Avinu? Who can say, you know what, Avraham Avinu, he's not on my level? Who can say that? Who can say they have more Emunah than Avraham Avinu? Avraham Avinu, Zchutot again Aleinu, jumped into a fire without knowing whether HaShem is going to save him, not save him, nothing. Nimrod HaRasha told him, listen, pray to me, I'm going to kill you. He says, I'll jump into the fire myself. He goes, okay, don't jump. It's going to be, listen, just pretend you're praying to me. Pretend. I'll drop something on the floor, you pick it up, but I'll tell everybody you really bowed to me. He goes, no, I'm going to jump into the fire, no problem. No, listen, I'm God. He goes, what God? And Avraham talks to him, what God? Last week you had a cold. This week you have a backache. Next week you have a toothache. What God are you? What kind of God are you? I'm going to jump into the fire. Hold on a second, I'm going to the fire. He goes, no, Avraham, you're going to ruin everything for me. If you jump into the fire, listen. People like you. They don't want to see you get burned. So just pretend. He goes, I'm jumping into the fire. See you later. Avraham ran to the fire. The people that were following him, they got burned. Avraham didn't get burned. Why? The Malachim in Shamayim ran to Hashem and said, Hashem, you're going to let this tzaddik get burned? Let us go save him, Hashem. Let us go save him. Hashem says, no. Don't save him. He's alone in the world down there. And I'm alone in the world up here. Only I can save him. And Hashem himself went and saved Avraham Avinu. Now Avraham didn't know this was all going to happen. Avraham didn't know this was going to happen. Where did he learn this from? He had no inspirational teacher. He had no, wait. That's the difference. Avraham had such chokhmah that he delved into himself and delved into the bottom line, and he realized, listen, this is the only truth that can exist. But what do you think? It happened overnight? You think just one day he said, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to kill myself for Hashem. I think I'm just going to kill myself. The Rambam writes, yes, he met the Creator at 3 years old. But he only knew the Creator at 40. Why? It took him 37 years to become Avraham Avinu. It took him 37 years of Mesirut Nefesh, of working on his midot, of working on himself, to get to a level of saying, I have Emunah. And that's Avraham Avinu. So you and me, little nothings, and I say, no, I went to a lecture, the guy is so inspirational, I have Emunah now. It's complete nonsense. People think they're going to watch a couple of shiurim here and there, maybe read a book here and there, donate a few dollars here and there, and they have Emunah. I'm going to tell you a little secret. A little secret we learned from Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu, Parashat Lech Lecha says, Vayomer Adonai el Avraham, Lech Lecha me'artzecha me'moladecha, u'mibet avicha, el ha'aretz asher ha'echa. Hashem Yitbarach tells to Avraham, go for yourself from the land, from your relatives, and from your father's house to the land that I will show you. Meaning, he doesn't even tell him where to go. He says, just get out of here. The place you're comfortable in, the place you have all your businesses, all your friends, all your family, all your convenience, your bathroom just the way you like, the garden just the way you grew it, the cattle just the way they know where to go, where you know if one of them is hiding, you know where the hiding spot is. You know where everything is. You know everything. Leave all of that. Okay, fine, I'll leave, no problem. Where am I going? Better? I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. Do you ever see Avraham ask a question, Hashem, can you let me in on the secret? Where am I going? Is it better? Is it nicer? Does it have maybe nicer weather? Maybe better people? Maybe there's money opportunity over there. I can become, I don't know, maybe make a few shekels. In those days, I think it's zuz. Maybe I can make a few dollars, maybe I can make a few dollars over there. I mean, what's happening over there? You ever see in the parasha, Avraham asking Hashem, by the way, why? Not once. Why? Avraham at this stage has Emunah. But he doesn't have Emunah because he went to one lecture. He has Emunah because he had 37 years of difficulties, 37 years of Mesirut Nefesh. And that Mesirut Nefesh did not end with this test. It only got him to this test in order to be able to take the next test. And you see Avraham Avinu continue going through tests for every single minute of his life. As soon as he's told, okay, I'm going to go to a different place, no problem. I'm going to go. Seems like it's going to be a better place. No, he gets there. What does it say? He has to leave. Why does he have to leave? Because there's starvation. There's famine. You know what famine is? You ever get really hungry and you look in the fridge, there's nothing there, you tell your wife, honey, I'm starving? That's not famine. That just means you have to go to the store and get something. Or maybe go on the phone and call a pizza or something. That's all that means. Famine means there are dead people in the streets because they haven't eaten in days. That's famine. Famine is something that's beyond our understanding. We, Baruch Hashem, are so blessed in this generation. We have no idea what it means, famine, what it really means to be hungry. We have no idea what it means. Somebody says, yeah, I have somebody told me today, hey, Kvod Harav, can you help me financially? I don't know why everybody thinks I have money. Just if you know who I am, it means you know my personal story. At the end of the story, it says I lost all the money. Nobody sees the end, I guess. They all like the beginning, though. But anyway, until Sonny make sure that section of where I lose, make sure it's highlighted. So people know, stop. But anyway, Baruch Hashem, it's a good problem to have. Anyway, somebody sends me a text today, says, Kvod Harav, can you help me with some money? I have a problem. I have some financial problems. And he tells me the problem. I don't ask. He tells me the problems already. Baruch Hashem. He says, yeah, listen, I only have 1.5 times what I need per month. Meaning, let's say, for example, he needs $5,000 a month. He has $7,500. Yeah, meaning he has $7,500 in the bank. He has $7,500 in the bank. He needs $5,000 for the month. But it's for next month. Meaning he's okay for this month. He's worried already about next month. And he's asking me if I can help him financially. The Gemara says, Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinos says, a person that has food today, yeah, Hashem gave you food today, and he asks, if he even asks or thinks, not he goes and calls his rabbi, hey, listen, Kvod Harav, can you give me some money? No, he just thinks in himself and in his head, where am I going to get money to eat tomorrow? A person like that, the Gemara says, katon be'emunah. He has little tiny baby emunah. Meaning like as if it's non-existent. Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinos, the rabbi of Rabbi Akiva, makes fun of him. He goes, this person, he has no emunah. Why? You had food today. Did Hashem have to get your help, your permission, your assistance to give you food today? So if he gave you food today, why are you worried about tomorrow? People today are so spoiled that unless they have all of their ducks in a row, the way they call it, unless they have everything in order, they already get stressed out. How I'm going to pay the bills? I don't have it. What? It's not due for another 6 months. Yeah, but it's due. People are so worried about things, they have no emunah whatsoever. And they think, oh, no, I'm going to go read a book. I'm going to go to a lecture, and I'm going to get emunah after going to the lecture. No, Rabotai. That's not how you get emunah. That's how you get inspired. You get inspired from shiur like this, shiur like other people do that talk about emunah. You get inspired to go get emunah. But you know the real secret of how to get emunah? If you want emunah, now I'll give you two aspects of it. If you have emunah, you have no worries. It's a Gan Eden. It's a Gan Eden. Just imagine the little baby, the little cute baby that I saw a little while ago. Ima's carrying him, Abba carries him. It's the cutest little thing in the world, or her. Cutest little thing in the world. She's not worried about anything. What is she? If she worries for a second, what does she do? And immediately, 5 people. Get the milk, get the tea, get coffee, get FedEx, get UPS, get something. Everybody gets something. Why? The baby's crying. Everybody has to do something. Get toys, get this, get that. Everybody goes crazy. Why? The baby's crying. So the baby, all it has to do is just, 2 seconds later, 5 people. Your wish is my command. Doesn't have much to worry about. That's why you see the baby sleeps comfortable. It's not worried about a mortgage. It's not worried about where the kids are going to get married or not. Shidduch, no shidduch. It doesn't worry about it, anything. It's comfortable. Having emunah, real emunah, is like being like that baby. Being like that baby. You have no worries. As soon as you have a worry, you know Hashem is going to send the angels, going to do everything possible. Answer my prayers. That's emunah. That's emunah. Gan Eden. Not having emunah is Gehinnom in this world. Why? Where are you going to get it from if it's not from Hashem? If you don't have emunah in Hashem, that means you're relying on yourself. By the time you got to a point where you need to use your emunah, it's already too late to believe in Hashem. Because you've needed training to get to this point. Meaning you think that, okay, I'm going to help myself, but now all my options are closed. The doors have closed. They just fired me from the job. They just kicked me out of the house. They just rejected my application. They just this, they just that. Okay, so what do I do now? I don't have any, what am I going to do now? So not having emunah is a Gehinnom. Why? Because you have no idea what's happening. You have no idea how it's going to be solved. You don't know what's right. You don't know what's left. It's a nightmare of a life. Regardless of how much money you have or don't have. Having no emunah is mamash Gehinnom in this world. So those are the two sides. Some people live in this world and they have emunah, although it's very few. And literally you see them smiling at all times, happy at all times. Even the difficulties in their life that seem to keep on coming, everything is under control. They don't lose themselves. Yeah, there's a few things that are annoying here and there. Yeah, there's a few things that are difficult here and there. Yeah, there's a few tears. You cry to Hashem. No problem, of course. You have to cry. But you don't lose hope. You don't commit suicide. Not spiritual, not physical. But then you see the rest of the world, and they're always stressed out. But not only are they stressed out about problems that they have, they're stressed about problems they don't even have yet. They're so accustomed to stress that they're stressed before there's a problem. You see people, it's like, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. What will happen? I don't know if the bank is going to accept the deal. Did you send it to them? Yes. Did they respond to you? No. Okay, so why are you worried? They haven't given you an answer yet. But what if they don't answer? What if they don't want it? What if they don't this? I'm like, why are you asking all these questions? You have nothing else in your life to do than to ask these questions? What if? Just wait, and eventually you're going to get the answer anyway. If you got the answer, they said no, then you worry. Oh, I don't know if they're going to accept my kids in school. Why? Why not? Why? Your kids are retarded? Your kids are deformed? Missing a head, missing an arm, missing an eye? Maybe members of Hamas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda? Why? What happened to your kids? Oh, I don't know. We're new here. Okay, so? I don't know. Maybe they don't like us. Why? You have something? You killed somebody in the neighborhood? You killed somebody? No, but I'm not sure. Why are you worried? Why are you worried? They don't know. They're worried for no reason. For no reason. Meaning, not having emunah, it's not just a problem when you have problems. It's obvious you have a problem when you have problems. You don't need the shiur for that. Not having emunah, why is it Gehinnom? Is because you're worried and you're stressed out already before you have problems. Before you have the problem, you're already worried. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to find a shidduch. Why? Oh, you're missing an eye? No, I have 2 eyes. Okay, you're missing a leg? No, Baruch Hashem, I got both, and I still have them. So what's the problem? Why are you not going to get a shinuch? Oh, I don't know. I'm already 23 and a half years old, and I haven't found anybody yet. Okay. So you're 23 and a half years old. Rabbi Akiva was 40. What's the problem? We get worried before there's a problem. Why? We have no emunah. So now, we have both aspects. We have Gan Eden, have emunah. Genom, no emunah. The two always have to apply to every shiur. There's only two choices in life, Rabotai. As much as people say, no, there are like 8 people send me a clip in the last few days. Oh look, Rabbi David Yosef said you shouldn't scare people. I said, no, that's not what he said. He said a different thing. You just don't understand English. But the two apply everywhere. There's good, there's bad. Whatever way you want to explain it to people, having emunah is Gan Eden. Not having emunah is Genom. Suffering, terrible. That's obvious. Everybody understand so far? Okay, so what's the secret? How do you get this emunah? You're saying going to a lecture is going to only inspire me. It's going to inspire me to get emunah, but it's not going to actually get me emunah. Reading a book, it's going to inspire me to get emunah, but it's not going to get me emunah. So how am I going to get emunah? Parashat Lech Lecha. Parashat Lech Lecha, Hashem Yitbarach says to Avraham, Lech Lecha me'artzecha u'me'woladetecha. Mesirut nefesh. In order to get emunah, you have to make sacrifices. Meaning, you have to overcome difficulty. The people that have emunah, they didn't just get the emunah because they bought it in some store or maybe on eBay. They went through an enormous amount of difficulty and they overcame it with the Hashem Yitbarach in mind before the test, during the test, and after the test. That's how you get emunah. The only way to get emunah, real emunah, is to experience. By overcoming the obstacles that everyone else is worried about, including yourself. Thinking, oh, Hashem gave me the problem, therefore He knows for sure I can pass it. How? I have no idea. How could I pay for a house that's 3.5 times what I make? I have no idea. How could I pay for diapers that I don't, how could I do this? How could I do that? I don't know how I can do it. He can. So if He gave me this problem, that means He knows I can pass it. I can overcome it. He's going to fix it. That's before. During, when the check doesn't clear. Check doesn't clear, you say, the mortgage is due, rent is due, electric is due. Oh yeah, here's the check, but there's no money in the bank. He's like, oh yeah, there's a check. Hold on, you know what? Let me hold the check for a second, a few more days, and I'll give it back to you. Why? It's the same check. No. Now it's the same check, same piece of paper. But in 2 days, this piece of paper may be actually worth some money. Today it's worth nothing. Today it's worth. During, you say, okay, Hashem is giving me a test during the test. Why? See if I have emunah when everything is dark. And then after, when you see the salvation, you give credit and praise only to the one that deserves it, which is Hashem Yitbarach. This, believe it or not, this third step is the most difficult for everyone. It's most difficult for everyone. Why? When you have problems and no hope, it's very easy to pretend like you have emunah. You have no choice. Oh yeah, God will help. Bezrat Hashem. Everybody at the hospice center is a religious person. Oh yeah, Bezrat Hashem, things will work out. Bezrat Hashem, it's going to work out. What Bezrat Hashem? You're driving on Shabbat. What Bezrat Hashem? You eat taref on the way here. Yeah, I can't afford kosher. What do you want me to eat? You don't want me to eat? Bezrat Hashem, when you have no money, is very easy. Be'ezrat Hashem, when everything is dark, is even easier. It's called hopelessness. But everything from beginning to end was Be'ezrat Hashem. After you saw salvation is the most difficult. Why? Because we always like to give credit to the domem, to the still life, to the things that really have no significance in life. We always like to give credit, oh yeah, no, it's because the IRS refunded me the money. I didn't realize, forgot that the IRS is going to refund me the money now. So they refunded me the money, so that's why I had money to pay the rent. That's why. The boss, he saw how hard I've been working hard for 3 years. He saw it. It just happened to be this week he saw it. He saw it this week. The boss saw I work hard this week, and he happened to give me a raise this week so I could pay the rent. And we constantly contribute the salvation that Hashem gives us to things that are nonsense. To the little mini tools that Hashem uses to give us salvation to make it look realistic. Instead of saying, Ishtabach Shimo La'ad, you gave me a zivug in the middle of nowhere. Ishtabach Shimo, you gave me money out of nothing. You gave me water out of a rock. You gave me this, you gave me that. Instead of saying Ishtabach Shimo, what do we say? No, it's because the weather, it was sunny in the morning. But then in the afternoon it was cloudy. We weren't sure whether we should go or we should stay. So we said, you know what? Let's just stay. And because we stayed, the guy called and I answered the phone. And you have all these stories of these coincidences of why certain things happen instead of just saying, it's only Hashem. And the Ramban in Parashat Bo says, anything and everything in your life has to be believed that it's a miracle. There is no such thing as nature. The Ramban says, if you say anything is nature, it's kfirah. It's heresy. Everything is supernatural. Everything is a miracle. Whether it's the fact that your teeth are able to grind the meat, or the candy, or the apple, or your eyes can actually see something that's 20 feet away from you, or the fact that you have money in the bank, or that you got a zivug, or that you got a job, or that you missed chas v'shalom an accident, or a cure for cancer, or whatever it is. Everything is a miracle. Everything. There is no such thing as natural. This is very, very important to believe and to understand in order to get real emunah. Because once a person can start passing the tests that Hashem is going to give him whether he likes it or not, then he can get to a point of actually having emunah during difficult times and being able to overcome those difficulties without suffering. I'm not saying without difficulty, but without suffering. Difficulty is part of life. Suffering is a choice. Suffering is a choice. You choose whether you want to suffer or not. If you have emunah, because you've worked on it, your suffering is not going to be as great, if at all. But if not, you'll suffer your whole life. But Rabotai Yekarim, Parashat Lech Lecha teaches us something critical. And Rav Spivak reminds us that you're not going to get this emunah that everybody likes to talk about in every shiur in America. Emunah this, emunah this, emunah this, emunah that. Great emunah. How do you get this emunah? No one likes to talk about that part. Why? Because they want you to buy a book. Or maybe they want you to come to the next lecture. Reality is there's only one way to get emunah. Real emunah. How? Experience. Lech lecha. You have to take action. You have to take action. And those actions change over time. Sometimes those actions are when you think there are certain possibilities. Ultimately, you get to a point where you take actions purely because you know there's absolutely no possible way it's going to work other than Hashem. That's emunah. This was the greatness of Avraham Avinu. For 175 years, Avraham Avinu lived a life full of emunah, constantly taking huge steps without asking any questions. Because of his emunah in Hashem Yitbarach, he understood that Hashem runs the world. He understood that Hashem doesn't only run the world, but he runs the world in such a precise way that asking a question, by default, it shows that you have a little bit of lackings in your emunah. So after waiting almost 100 years to get the son that he wanted, the son that Hashem promised him in the end of this parasha, in next week's parasha or this week's parasha, Hashem tells him, bring him to the mountain. Avraham is led to believe that he's going to have to kill his own son. After he passes this test, he comes home in the following parasha only to see his wife dead. The love of his life is dead. You would think, listen, I just passed this test. Akedat Yitzchak, Yishtabach Shimon, come home. They have a celebration. Welcome home, Avraham, with the tupim, with all the different circus. All nothing. What do you see? No, we have to do a funeral for your wife. You ever see Avraham say to Hashem, why, who, when? No. Why? Avraham knew. Hashem runs the world. Hashem runs the world. It's his world. I'm just living in it. This, Rabotai, is very, very important to know, very, very important to understand, because today everybody likes to talk about Emunah, but very few people truly possess it. A lot of people think they have it today. And the reason why is because today, especially in the Western world, people are making money hand over fist. Most people are in the best financial shape. Most, not everyone, but most people are in the best financial shape they've ever been in history, in their own life. They made some money from the stock market, from real estate, from Bitcoin, from business, from cheating the government, from cheating the customers, from cheating their wives, from cheating the husbands. Everybody's made some money some way. All you have to do is walk around and you see almost everybody has a relatively newer car. A home that is partially or completely remodeled. A watch that costs more than most people's mortgage. People are doing okay. And everybody says, yeah, it's because I have Emunah in Hashem. You don't know if you have Emunah during good times. You only know if you have Emunah during bad times. When everything is dark. When there's a financial collapse and you lose everything and you don't jump off a bridge. Now the only way you're going to be able to withstand a depression of such is if you already start training yourself during the good times. By taking different measures of training yourself to overcome the smaller obstacles that seem big today, but passing them with flying colors. Yes, reading books is good, coming to lectures is good. According to the Torah, when David HaMelech told Hashem Yitbarach, Hashem, when am I going to die? Hashem says, I can't tell you. He says, okay, at least tell me the day. Okay, you're going to die on a Shabbat. Oh, Hashem, it's not convenient to die on a Shabbat. I'm muktzeh. No one's allowed to bury me. It's not so good. Hashem, why don't you let me die on Sunday? Yom Rishon. No, David, I can't do it. Why, Hashem? You can do anything. No, there's a system. And your son, his kinghood, is destined to start on that Sunday. That means that if you don't die, his kinghood cannot begin. And it can never be in my perfect world that one's kinghood is shortened or lengthened by a day. Cannot be. So David HaMelech, Kodesh Kodeshim, he's not looking for kavod. He says, okay, no, Hashem, it has nothing to do with kinghood. If it's about that, no worries. Give him an extra day. Take me on Friday. Take me on Friday. Hashem says, no, David, I can't do it. No, Hashem, you can do anything. No, David, I can't do it. Why? He says, your limud Torah, you learning Torah, one day, you learning Torah, you just sit down, come to a shiur Torah for a couple of hours on a Sunday, is worth more to me than 1,000 korbanot that your son Shlomo HaMelech is going to bring to me. Each korban is $10,000, no less. Today, maybe $25,000. The price of cows has gone up drastically. Each cow you can easily sell $25,000. If you sell it as kosher meat, you probably can sell it for over $100,000. Each korban is a bunch of money. Hashem Yitbarach is telling us, not just David HaMelech, he's telling you, you coming to a shiur on a Sunday, at night, on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, on a whatever, to come learn Torah, it's worth more than 1,000 korbanot, each with a price tag of $25,000. You're talking about a shiur Torah is worth $25 million in mitzvot and shamayim. Cash. No monthly payments. That's how much Torah is worth. Why? Because that kid instilled the motivation for you to get the Emunah you need during the difficult times. Now, what's the most difficult time that a person can possibly have? Money is a very difficult problem, but some people are simply not materialistic, so they don't care so much. A broken heart is very difficult, but eventually if somebody looks hard enough or they have a blessing, Hashem will find them somebody else. The one thing that a person cannot replace easily and is very, very difficult to have emunah is during death. Somebody dies. Why? They're irreplaceable. If your loved one, Hashem Yirachem, lo aleinu, lo alechem, dies like this young woman that died in a car accident, drunk driver killed her, Hashem Yirachem, yesterday I think it was. Baby, 20-something years old. I think she was on her way to a wedding. Some horrible, horrible story to start the week. Or the couple that got murdered last week. Or the countless people that you hear about every day, or at least I do. Every day, murder, rape, this, that. Shem Yirachem, what you hear. It's so many tzarot happen to Am Yisrael. It's like, you don't even know what to do yourself. How do you have emunah during times like that? You lose somebody. At times like that, a person needs to know that sometimes emunah has to come the hard way. Meaning you have to force it in. The Gemara in Masechet Brachot, page 18b. Says that the sons of Rabbi Chia were mourning. What were they mourning? They forgot their Torah. They forgot their Torah and they were mourning. Somebody learns Torah their whole life and they forget it. Only someone that toiled to learn Torah understands the pain. I know one Rav, one Talmid Chacham, Rav Zavichi. He, according to the people that know him and have followed his life, lives in Har Nof, Talmid Chacham. He forgot the Torah twice. He had a brain aneurysm or stroke twice. Now he was destined, according to the people in there, if you look at his work, you look at all the books that he wrote, he was destined to be Gdol Ador. He was destined to be the Rishon LeZion after Rav Ovadia. But he was given a test that I don't think anybody else in a generation can pass. A person that studied, wrote books like, unbelievable stuff. The Ktoret, you remember I gave you guys a chidush about the Ktoret? He wrote a book over 900 pages, just on the Ktoret. Just on the Ktoret. 900 pages. On Asher Yatzar, the Bacha, we made the little posters on, little tiny paragraph, takes 30 seconds to read. He wrote a book, almost 900 pages, on Asher Yatzar. Almost 900 pages. Now he's just published a book on Alenu L'Shabeach. Again, 400 pages. 400 pages, Alenu L'Shabeach. Unbelievable amount of Torah. But one day, he had the stroke, he has no Aleph Bet. Aleph Bet he doesn't know, Aleph Bet. Forget all the Chidushin. Aleph Bet he doesn't know. And he toiled and he went back and he started again. He got his Torah again. Unbelievable. I remember seeing him towards the end of the second recovery. You saw he was trying to give a shiur Torah. He'd make mistakes called Noach, Avraham Avinu, Noach. Little mistakes that everybody, it's like you feel uncomfortable. He's Gdol Ador. You want to correct him, but you can't, and you don't know what to do with yourself. No, for the Rav, it's Avraham. Oh, yeah, Avraham, thank you. One thing he didn't lose. Why did he get to get this Torah again? Because midot, you never lose. Good midot, you've perfected, you never lose them. So despite the difficulty of losing his Torah, he gained it, and again, Baruch Hashem, he just came out with another book. But we see, Rabotai, that mourning is throughout all of our Torah. It's not something that if you know a lot of Torah, automatically you don't have difficulty. Everyone knows, at least in the religious world, and most likely in the non-religious world as well, who the Baba Sali was. Not as many people know his older brother, Rabbi David Abu Chatzira. Shem Mikom Davav. Rabbi David Abu Chatzira, he was Kodesh Kodeshim, Baal Muftim, miracle worker, so holy that the stories they say about him are like from, it sounds like Agadot. He used to have different Seudot ad Odaya, different Seudot to thank Hashem. Something would happen, he'd have a nice Seudah, invite certain people, let's have a Seudah to thank Hashem. One time his father told him, listen, don't have it. Don't have this Seudah, don't have it. But he knew it's a big mitzvah to have this Seudah, and his father was going away. So he's not going to see, he's not going to be affected by it. No problem. So he had the Seudah. All of a sudden, he hears that his father's on the way. Came home earlier. In those days, you go away, you come back, it could be months. He came back a day early. Now, if he sees the Seudah, he sees this party, he's going to be upset. Chas v'shalom, upset. Abba, can't do it. So what am I going to do? Tell people to leave? He's going to see them leave. He tells everybody, don't move. Don't move. There's people, there's hundreds of people. Don't move. So everybody doesn't move. He made everybody disappear. His father comes. Says, no, how are you, son? No, Baruch Hashem, Abba, everything is good. No, they have a whole conversation. His father walks around. There's nobody there. There's no one there. His father walks around. Oh, wow, looks good. Okay, well, okay, my son, I'm really tired. It's been a long way. I'm going to go get some sleep. Okay, how about, thank you. Okay, everybody comes back. Baal Mufti, Mamash miracle worker. People saw this with their own eyes. The Moroccan Sultan, Yimach Shemo V'Zichro, at the time, decided that he wants to make him into an example. And he murdered him in cold blood by tying him to a cannon and shooting the cannon. Tying him to a cannon and shooting the cannon at him. Such a vicious, horrible way to die. It was so horrible and so vicious that the Baba Sali, who was 24 years younger than him, couldn't get over it. He couldn't get over this, like, how could it be somebody so holy die in such a horrible way, such a vicious way? I mean, just body parts everywhere. Hashem Yachem. Like, how? This was a Sefer Torah walking. How could it be? Hashem, how could it, what happened? He couldn't get over it. He couldn't get over it. For years. He suffered for years, not understanding how could it be. Until his brother, Rabbi David of Buchatzira, came to him in a dream and he said, "Stop it! Stop mourning me! Look!" He shows him Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, you're with him. Look where I'm at. What are you mourning exactly? Look where I'm at. What are you mourning? Go and make a Seudat Odaya. Go thank Hashem now. Stop mourning. He commanded him to stop mourning, and from that minute, he stopped mourning. Unfortunately, we don't have the merits of the Baba Sali, nor do we have any ancestors that are Rabbi David Abuchatzira. But there is a very, very important lesson to learn here. The Gemara in Masechet Moed Katan, page 27b, says something very scary. I brought the Gemara for anyone who wants to double check. Says something very, very scary. It says that anyone who mourns too much, someone died, you're going to mourn too much, will end up having to mourn for another person. Meaning, there's halakha in Shulchan Aruch. Someone dies, maximum you're allowed to cry for 3 days. If you're still crying on day number 4, day number 40, day number 50, day number 100, day number 300, 5 years later, 10 years later, like some people, they just simply decide to ruin their lives, you are eating pig, shrimp, and lobster every day. Same thing. Why? You're going against the Torah. You're going against the Torah. You're not allowed to mourn that much. You're not allowed to mourn that much. You're not allowed to cry that much. There is an halakha, how much to mourn. And we'll explain why. But the Gemara is not just telling you that you shouldn't do it. The Gemara is actually giving an outright warning. And it's not just in the Gemara. It's in the Shulchan Aruch too. The Shulchan Aruch repeats the Gemara. The Shulchan Aruch, Yoreh De'ah, Siman 324, Seif 1. Says precisely, you're not allowed to mourn the dead too much, as it will lead to mourning for more deaths. En mitkashim al hamet yoter midai. Why? Al met acher uboche. Someone that ends up mourning the death of a loved one Too much, they get punished. With what? With the worst punishment of all. What's the punishment? More death. The Gemara gives an example of a woman. Gemara Masechet Moed Katan. Fantastic Gemara. But this story is scary. Of how certain people decide to, mamash, I'm going to ruin my life. But it's almost like they have no free choice anymore. They just don't know what to do with themselves anymore. They're heartbroken. But okay, khalas, okay, finish, okay. You have more to do. No, I can't get on. I have an aunt. God bless her. Her son, Yossi, alav shalom, died maybe 30 years ago. 30 years ago. Young kid. He was in maybe 30 years old. Handsome guy. Good friend of my father's. Nice guy. He died maybe 30 years ago. Something like that. 30 something years ago. I remember seeing my father cry. It's one of the first time I've ever seen my father cry. They were close. Beautiful kid. Nice. Died. He had machala. He had cancer. His mom, God bless her, 30 years later, she's still mourning him. She decided to just ruin her life. After that, more death came. Her husband died. Now she has another son that's dying. Shemechem. She hasn't lived life yet. In 30 years, her life ended 30 years ago. We think it's the only story. You know how many stories like this are in the world? It's in the Gemara. The Gemara says there was a woman that lost one of her sons. She had 7 sons. The rabbis came to her and says, you're crying excessively. You're crying excessively. You're not allowed to cry. I know you lost your son. We understand. It's a horrible thing. We understand no one can understand your pain. Even someone that also had a death in their family can't understand your pain. No one can understand it. Why? It's your pain. If you cut your finger and I cut my finger, I can't tell you, no, I understand how you feel. No, I don't. And you can't tell me you understand how I feel. You know why? I'll tell you why. I'll give you an example. You cut your finger, you feel a certain sensation of pain. I feel a certain sensation of pain, but I know for sure we don't have the same pain. Number one, you take pain differently than I do. Number two, I also have something called hypersensitivity. Means that my pain is 1,000-fold. So we could have the same exact wound, but mine hurts 1,000 times more than yours. Even without it, it's still different. But the point being, Rabotai, is that no one can ever say, I understand your pain. That's nonsense. But that doesn't make it right for you to continue. The Torah tells you, no, you're not allowed. The woman started crying about one lost son. The rabbis came to her and they said, stop it. You're not allowed to cry past 3 days. You're already crying for months. She didn't want to stop crying. Another son died. Now she's crying again. The rabbis came to her and says, listen, you made a mistake. HaShem Yachem is a warning sign. 2 sons died. Chalas. She didn't stop crying. Another son died. Rabbis come again. We understand it's horrible. 3 sons. It's a Holocaust in your own house. It's a Holocaust in your own house. 3 sons die. It's a Holocaust in your own house. But the Torah gives us instructions. You are not allowed to cry past 3 days. Not allowed. You have to move on with your life. She didn't want to move on. 4th son died. 5th son died. All of her sons died. All of them. Then the rabbis told her, we're going to pray for you to die. You killed all of them. You killed all of them. And then she died. As we said on Thursday's shiur, when we say the Torah is ora'ah, the Torah is an instruction set. It doesn't mean it's an instruction set only for when times are good. It's an instruction set for when times are horrible. And if you don't use it as an instruction set for when times are horrible, you're never going to get out of that hole you're in. is a pasuk in the Torah in the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 22, verse 10. He says, Al tifku lamet val tanudu lo. He says, don't weep for the dead man. And don't even shake your head for him. Meaning, not only don't cry more than what you're allowed, but don't even go, I can't believe he's not here anymore. Pass those. Don't even do it. You can tell a guy, listen, you just lost somebody you care about 6 months ago. You shouldn't say, I can't believe. What do you mean? You crazy? You don't understand my pain. You don't understand what I've gone through. Jeremiah says you're not allowed. And I'll tell you why at the end. This is hard stuff. Where you're playing with people's feelings, with their hearts. Like it's putty right now. What do you mean? You understand what kind of love I had? Prophet Jeremiah says, you're not even allowed to shake your head. Like, we hear something bad, like that, not allowed to do it. The question is, why do we have to control our feelings to such an extent in the most difficult times of our life? Not having money, difficult, but it passes. Money comes, money goes. At the end of the day, it's paper. You'll survive with or without it. Loved one, heartbreaks. Okay, heartbreak, smart break. You'll get through it. If you really want to, you'll get through it. You'll find a new one. I'm not discounting the pain, but it's not the same. It's not in the same level as death. Death is finished, and the Torah tells us, in the highest level of pain, you are obligated to control your pain, to control your emotions to such an extent that if you don't, you get punished with even more pain. Meaning, it's not like, you should do it, but if you don't, we understand. No. The Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch says, no. You are putting people's lives on the line if you don't follow this specific halakha. Meaning, in Shamayim, that woman in the Gemara, in Shamayim, she goes to Shamayim, the rabbi said, she goes to Shamayim, they count her as a murderer. She murdered 6 people. She goes to Shamayim, they say, here's the murderer. What murderer? I lost all my kids. No. You murdered them. Cold blood. Why? You didn't follow the Torah. You're not doing anybody's favor by crying. Being sad, you're not doing anybody any favors with this. Why? This is so difficult that I wish none of us will ever have to even do this. But according to the Torah, if it's in the Torah, somebody has to do it. Why do we have to control ourselves during this time? Because this is the deepest level of Emunah. This is the most critical part of Emunah, to understand that beyond your feelings, beyond your desires, beyond your wants, beyond your everything, it doesn't matter how much you love a person. It doesn't matter how much you adore a person. It doesn't matter how much close you are to a person. It doesn't matter how much you work on yourself and how much you know and how you perfected yourself and how you can be Moshe Rabbeinu with mitzvot. You could be Avraham Avinu with the heart. Aaron HaKohen, Rodef Shalom. You could be David HaMelech. You could be Melech Mashiach. Whatever you want. The Torah is telling you in HaShem Yitbarach, it says, Hashem is saying to you, you are not more merciful than me. You are not allowed to cry more than me. You cannot say that I made a mistake. You cried long enough? You're telling me I made a mistake. You're telling me that I killed my son, and I don't feel bad about it. You're telling me you love my son more than me. Chutzpan. You don't love my son more than me. I created him. You just knew him for a little while. You don't love my daughter more than I love her. I created her. I knew everything about her. You just knew something about her. You knew her for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 20 years. You knew the things she told you. I knew what's in her heart. You're not more merciful than me. Don't pretend to be. By crying too much for a person, you're telling Hashem you're more merciful than him. That is against the root of Emunah. That is against the root of connection to Hashem. We are misunderstanding his role in the world. We are trying to play God here. And that's why God is so critical of it. Because he tells us, you're not more merciful than me. In Psalm 115, verse 2, we learn the difference between the Jews and the Goyim. David HaMelech says, לא לנו אדוני לא לנו, כי לשמך תן כבוד על חסדך על עמיתך. למה יאמרו הגויים עיינה אלוהים? Not for our sake, Hashem, not for our sake, but for your name's sake. Give glory for your kindness and for your truth. Why? The nations say, where is their God? David HaMelech says, look at the difference here. Am Yisrael is saying nothing is for us, it's only for your sake. This world is for your sake. The mitzvot are for your, everything is for you, Hashem. But if we ask, Lama? We're goyim. Lama yomruna goyim. Lama? Why? That's what the goyim ask. The goyim asks Lama. Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? People that ask why in a lot of different things. Why did Hashem do this and why did Hashem do that? They're let to become kufrim eventually. Why? Because eventually they're not going to get answers. At least not when they want them. And that's why the Shulchan Aruch says that we're not allowed to be mitkashim al hamet. We have to control ourselves during the most difficult times because ata lo yoter rachaman mimeni. You're not more merciful than me. Arav Spadron, alav shalom, towards the end of his days, he was in a wheelchair, and one of his Talmidim saw him, and he says to him, what do you think? We're coming to Olam Haba with nothing? We worked hard to have a few things. I have at least 3 things I could bring to Olam Haba. And he tells him the story of the first one. When Arav Spadron was 12 years old, one of the Gdolei Hador was Rav Mordechai Epstein, Rosh Yeshivat Hebron. But Rav Mordechai Epstein was mourning a horrible massacre that happened at the time to his students. They murdered his students in Hebron with cold blood. What happened to those kids? Hard to imagine. And a Rebbe gets very close to his students. People don't understand the way that a rabbi looks at his students. If someone is truly a student, they have a very hard time understanding what it means. When you see somebody come to you with no kippah, and then a year later he has a kippah, he has tefillin, he has tzitzit, he learns a little bit, he comes to shulim, you see the kid grow, you feel like he's your son, you feel like she's your daughter. So, when a Rebbe sees his kids, and what happened to those kids in Hebron, get murdered in cold blood, it's something that's very hard to imagine how you could possibly get over such a thing. So for some time, the Rabbi, as much as he was a huge Talmid Chacham, was not able to get over the loss. When Rav Spadron was 12 years old, he came to visit this yeshiva on Purim. And he saw that already, everyone is celebrating, but the Rebbe is not there. And he asked, where's the Rebbe? So, oh, no, he doesn't come out. He hasn't come out of his room, out of his house, for a long time already. He said, I come from a really far city, I'm a well-known family, and so on and so forth. Can I go see him? So you go try. So he goes and he tries to go see him. He says, listen, please tell the rabbi that I'm here from my family, such and such. He tells him about his family. He has very, very important holy family that the Rav Spadron came from. And I come from a faraway city, please, if he could see me. And he let them in. Came, he saw the rabbi, very sad, couldn't stop crying. And a little 12-year-old, Rav Spadron, says, Kvod Rav, I have a story I want to tell you. I want you to tell me what you think. I want to say a shiur. No, 12-year-old little chupchik, nothing. Wants to give one of the Gedolei Hador story. Please, Kvodah, can I tell you a story? Yeah, tell me a story. No? What are you going to say? A 12-year-old say, no, tell a story. Once there was a businessman that his business was, he would protect everybody's money. He was like a bank. And everyone knew he had money, so they would give him their money to hold for them, for safekeeping. And during the time while he's holding their money for safekeeping, he would use the money like a bank and he would invest it. And he would make money throughout this way. And anytime they wanted, all they need to do is give him a week notice and he has their money. And that's how he made money. He eventually got to a point where literally the entire town, including the rabbi, including everybody, had their money with him. And he had a deal of a lifetime. To invest into a ship, according to his calculation, all the ship needed to do is get from point A to point B, where he was, and he was going to quadruple his net worth. Overnight, if you will. Talking about a guy has 10 million, overnight 40 million. It's unbelievable. One trip. He took all of the money, everybody's money, because nobody needed their money right now, and by the time anybody would need their money, the ship would already be here. So it's not like anybody's going to be shortchanged. Took everybody's money, invested into the ship, let's go. He's already counting the minutes before he becomes not only the richest guy in town, but the richest guy in the country. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, two. Day of arrival, no arrival. So maybe I made a mistake, I miscalculated, it's not supposed to arrive today, maybe it's tomorrow. Next day, no arrival. Almost a week passes, no arrival. Eventually a messenger comes. Says, hi, I'm looking for such and such, Mr. Goldstein. Oh, that's me. Oh, I'm sorry to tell you, Mr. Goldstein, but the ship sunk. No survivors, no of the merchandise. A few of the people survived, but the ship sunk. It hit an iceberg. Everything is gone. In those days, not like today, you have insurance for bananas today. You have a little banana peels the wrong way, somebody's willing to pay you something for it. No insurance. No insurance, nothing. That means he not only just lost all of his money, he lost the entire city's money. I can tell you from experience, for anyone with a half heart, it's much, much worse to lose other people's money than to lose your money. Much, much worse. Mr. Goldstein runs in the middle of the street, crying, hysterical, and screaming, the ship! Kvod Harav, the ship! The ship! His rabbi sees him at the end of the street, and he's running to him with tears running. Kvod Harav, the ship! The ship! It's gone! The ship! The ship! He arrives to him, and the rabbi doesn't understand what he's saying until he arrives all the way where he's at. Rabbi, the ship has sunk. It's gone. And he passes out. He passes out from the pain of having what he has to deal with now. He just not only lost all of his own money, the rabbi's money is gone. The Kehillah's money is gone. The city's money is gone. Nothing. Everybody's broke now. The rabbi takes his right hand and slaps him in the face. Chutzpan kamocha. You rude person. Don't you dare do what you're doing. What? Rasha. Oh, Rasha. He just lost all of his money. What Rasha? What'd I do? Rasha. Say I'm sorry. Who? To who? To what? How dare you make HaShem sad with your tears? How dare you make HaShem sad with your tears? Chutzpan kamocha rasha. Don't you know that it says in Psalm 91 verse 11, Amo anochi betzara, bekol tzaratam lo tzar. In Psalm 91:15, Hashem says, I am with him in distress. I'm with my nation anytime they're in distress. And as Isaiah 63 verse 9, it says, Bekol tzaratam lo tzar. Anytime they have troubles, in all their troubles, he's troubled. Meaning, the Rabbi is telling this person that's crying hysterical, a moment ago, he's lost everybody money, he goes, how dare you cry? Because if you cry, Hashem's crying. If you're sad, Hashem's sad. If you're in trouble, Hashem feels the pain. Why are you causing Hashem pain? Go say I'm sorry. And start dancing and thanking Hashem that He gave you this test. You say, I can't, for the Rav, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'll do it. I'll start singing to you, and you dance. Now the rabbi knows he also lost his money. And he starts singing. And he starts singing to him. No, lo mefached. You know, he starts already go on 300 years ago. No. And he starts dancing. And everybody starts singing. The gvir, the rich people person of the town, what is he singing? The ship is gone, the ship is gone, the ship is gone. And he's dancing. Everybody realizes the ship is gone. It's their money is gone, but he's dancing. What are they going to do? They dance also. And everybody starts dancing, even though they all realized they all lost everything. Why? Because tzaratam lo tzar. They understood that if they're sad, it's not going to make their situation any better. You crying anymore, it's not going to make the situation better. In fact, it'll make it worse. not only will it make it worse because you're not going to be able to move on because you're crying. How do you move on with your life? You're too busy crying, too busy being depressed, too busy thinking about suicide, too busy even to say to your wife, I love you, to your husband, I love you, to your kids, I love you. You pick up the kid, you're like, what do I do with this? Forget the kid's so beautiful. All you want is just to hug him. You're just like, oh, what do I do with them? Why? Because you're too busy being depressed. You're too busy being sad. How do you move forward? You can't. You can't move forward if you're sad. You have to get out of it. And even more so, you're making Hashem sad. If you're sad, he's sad. Much more sad than you. How dare you make Hashem sad? Why is it his fault you have no emunah? Why is it his fault you think that this world is the end? Who told you this lie that this world is the end? Who told you this shuyot? Was Stephen Hawking's? What, do we become kofrim now? We became Greeks? Who told you this world is the end? Who told you that this is it? Why do you go to Beit Knesset if you think this world is the end? The Torah tells us from beginning to end, this world is a corridor. Meaning, it's a stop. You ever go on a bus? The bus has stops. He stops, he drops off some people, he picks up some people. The bus picks up some people, drops off some people. Some people come into the world, some people leave the world. But ultimately, we're all going to meet at the end. All of us have a destination. To be sad is in essence telling Hashem, yeah, this is the end. For who it's the end? Hashem says, no, you're just not going to see him because he got off the stop. He's over here with me. So are you saying I made a mistake? Are you saying that you're more merciful than me? Are you saying that you would have given him a better life? Are you saying you would have given her a better life? Who are you to say such a thing to Hashem to make him so sad for you? He gave you everything. Gave you a wife, kids, husband, kids, money, house, this, that. He gave you everything in the world. All you do is make him sad all day. Why? Because you don't have emunah. Why is it his fault you have no emunah? What did he do to you? All he do is give you every day. Why is it Hashem's fault you have no emunah? Why does he have to suffer? Because you have no emunah. Why? Go get yourself some emunah. Overcome the test. Rav Spadron finished the story, and Rav Mordechai Epstein said to him, I get the point, my son. Wait 1 second. He went, he put on his clothes, and he went outside and he partied with his yeshiva boys for the first time in years. And Rav Spadron says, this was my first lecture. I was 12 years old. I know I can take this to Shamayim as a ticket. I reminded the Gdol Hador something he already knew, but it was hard for him to overcome. Everything I said, all of you already know. All of you already learned it. Everything I said today, everything I said on Thursday, everything I said on last week, and the week before, and the week before, and the week before, all of this you already know. The key is to remind you that if you're going to have difficulty today, yesterday, tomorrow, you have to use this. You have to use this. You're not allowed to mourn too much. You're not allowed to fall into a depression. Why? Because all it means is that you think Hashem made a mistake. Hashem doesn't make mistakes. If your God makes mistakes, he's not God. All it means is he got off the stop. She got off the stop. I'll talk to you later. You're just not going to be able to see him for a little while. Okay, you'll see them later. You'll see them later. Does that mean that everyone else, including Hashem Yitbarach, have to suffer because you're not going to be able to see somebody for X amount of time? Why does Hashem have to suffer because you're not going to see such and such for a certain amount of time? Why? Why did the rest of our sons in the Gemara have to suffer because she couldn't get over the fact that the first son died? Why? In Shemaim they say she's a murderer. Why? There's halacha. You cannot go up to Hashem and say, Hashem, I'm more merciful than you. I would have given them a better option, more time, more this. If Hashem did it, that means it's the best possible choice. This is why Gemara Maseret Brachot is the first Gemara you read. At the end of the Gemara, at the end of Maseret Brachot, Rabbi Akiva teaches us. And he says, everything that the merciful one does, he does for the best. What does it mean, the best? The best means there is no other better choice. There cannot be a better choice. Meaning that what you want, what you're crying over, is you're crying over a worse choice. You're not crying over, oh no, I wish there was something different. No. You're crying over a worse choice. When somebody still cries over the Holocaust, oh, I can't believe my grandfather died in the Holocaust, my grandmother died of the Holocaust, my this one died of the Holocaust, I can't believe it. What are you saying? You're saying that you think that you could have done better. You think you could have done better. But the reality is, anyone that lived during that time, like Rav Victor Miller, like Rav Wasserman, like all of the Gdolei Ador during that time, they'll tell you themselves, if the Holocaust didn't happen, there wouldn't be Am Yisrael. Chas v'shalom. At all. If we didn't lose 6 million of our brothers and sisters, we'd lose everything. The whole world would be caught. Why? There was so much assimilation. There was so much kfirah. There was so much heresy. There wouldn't be anything left. So yes, we lost a lot, but it's to preserve what we have today. All of these Holocaust memorials and so on, yes, it's good to remember what happened, but if you're mourning over it, that means you didn't get the lesson, you didn't get the point. The point is, don't make the mistake that generation did, like we're still doing today, with almost 70% assimilation in America. In some places in America, like Colorado, it's like 90% assimilation. If you're crying over it, you missed the lesson, you missed the point. You're crying for 70 years for what? You're only allowed to cry for 3 days. If you're crying for 7 years, you missed the point. The point is, don't repeat the mistake. Hashem did it because He's more merciful than you. If you're crying for something that would have been worse. You're crying because you want no Am Yisrael. That's what you're crying. That was the only other option. It was either lose 6 million or all of it, everybody. It was either lose Bet HaMikdash or everybody. It was either be in a desert 40 years until everybody died or lose everything. That's the only other option. The only other option is worse. It's never better. Hashem's choices are always the best. Your choices are never better. If you're crying, that's because you want something worse. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. You're crying because you want something worse. If Hashem took the loved one, that means He wants to give them something better than you can. So why are you crying? If you really love them, you'd be happy. And that's why someone that really truly impressed me, I don't think anyone can even do such a thing. I didn't even think such a thing is possible in this generation. But Rav Lasri, who's known as literally, he's not known as the biggest Talmid Chacham, he's not known as the Baal Mussar. What is he known? He's known as like the best comedian in the Torah world. He's better than regular comedians that are secular, he's better than any comedian. He's the funniest person in the world. 30 years he's using comedy to get people to do tshuva. Hashem Yechem, about a year and a half ago, his 20-year-old son, baby, goes to a mikveh in the ocean and drowns and dies. Sounds nice. Hashem Elechem. Goes to the mikveh. Doesn't go in a chof meora. He doesn't have. It's no sense. A mitzvah. He goes to do a mitzvah. Goes in the mikveh. Drowns in the ocean. Dies. After the mourning time was completed, Rav Lasle told his wife, I can't leave the room until I know that I can bless Hashem. I can thank Hashem for this. And he worked on himself until he got to that point, and he said, okay, that's it. Let's go to the Kotel and have a Seudat Odaya, meaning a thank you feast. What, your son just died? You just finished mourning him. Yes, we're going to go to the Kotel and have a feast thanking Hashem for giving us the son for 20 years. That we never did. Let's go thank Hashem. And to thank Hashem that it's real, it's not just a party, one time, maybe you lost your mind. He says, I'm committing to doing another 100 shiurs this year. And doing this, and doing more and more Kedusha, bring more Kedusha out to the world. The Gdolei Ador was so impressed and said that this is you don't expect this from the big ones. The last thing we thought, it's unbelievable. That's real Emunah, Rabotai. That's a person that truly understands the product he's been selling for the last 30 years. That's a person that truly understands what Torah is. It is an instruction set, an instruction of how to live, and also an instruction set of how to deal with death. Rabotai Yekarim, Hashem Yitbarach's choices are always better than ours. Always better than ours. If we are mourning too long, if we are sad too long, if we're depressed too long, if we are anything negative too long, that means there's a lacking in us. And we need to work on it immediately. Not just because it's not allowing us to move ahead, not just because the people around us are suffering, seeing us with a chamutz face all the time, sour face all the time. Not just because of that, but also because we are questioning God. We're making God upset. We're making God sad. And that puts the other people that are still alive in danger. That puts other people in danger. So, this, very difficult, but very real. And very important. Because if a person really wants to get close to Hashem, he's not going to look for good times to get close to Hashem. He's going to look for the darkness. And that's when he's going to know Hashem is the darkness too. Shiftecha u'mishantecha ema yinachamuni. Your stick and your staff, those bring me comfort, David HaMelech says. The stick hits the sheep. The staff directs them. David HaMelech says to Hashem, I know that sometimes you have to hit me with the stick. And sometimes you have to direct me. But when you hit me, I know in reality you're directing me. So that's why it gives me comfort. That's why it gives me comfort. If I lost somebody that I love, I know I lost seeing them in this world for 20 more years, 30 more years, whatever it is. But I'm going to see him again. It's no reason for me to lose this world. It's no reason for me to make other people suffer. It's no reason for me to lose the rest of what Hashem gave me. It's no reason for me to make Hashem upset. We have to realize that Torah is not just a bunch of laws. Oh yeah, it's nice. You know how to, shake the lulav, buy an etrog, this, that, build a sukkah, eat some kosher food, get your stomach bigger than the rest of your body. That's not Torah, Rabotai. That's not Torah. Torah is an instruction set. It's an instruction set of how to deal with life. How to deal with life. And life, anyone that's lived long enough knows life is difficult. Life is difficult. If your life is not difficult, you're probably 12 years old. Wait a little longer, it'll become difficult. Everyone's life is difficult. With money, without money, with marriage, without marriage, with kids, without kids. Everyone's life is difficult. It's time we understood that Torah is the instruction set of how to give that difficulty a purpose. How to give that difficulty a meaning. And not just cry for no reason. Yes, of course, we all have a reason because something makes us sad. But why is it making you sad? Is it making you sad because it's truly what you think it is? Or is it what you're imagining? Is it sad because you don't believe what Hashem said? Or is it sad because Hashem made a mistake, if it's possible? So obviously Hashem didn't make a mistake. So the only thing that's causing you to cry and be depressed is because you, I'm sorry to tell you don't believe Hashem. You don't believe Hashem. I used to play poker in my Avonotai Rabim in the old days, and the whole game of poker is calling the other person because you're calling him a liar. He says he has a good hand, you're saying he doesn't have anything. So you're treating Hashem like a liar? What are you playing poker with Hashem? You treat him like a liar. Oh, I'm going to call your hand, Hashem. I don't think he's. It's good what you just did. You calling Hashem a liar? You know what kind of problems that brings? So that's why I love that. Hashem loves whoever you love a zillion times more than you can even imagine loving them. Which means that if He did something like that, that was the best possible choice. Anything that you are thinking is a worse choice. So it doesn't make sense to cry for a worse choice. Parashat Lech Lecha is a parasha of Mesirut Nefesh. It begins with leaving our comfort zone. Our comfortable feelings where we understand 1 + 1 = 2 is what we have to leave if we're going to attain Emunah. Real Emunah. Real Emunah can only be attained by trusting that there are certain things that Hashem said that we're simply not going to understand. But we're going to hold on tight, especially during those times. At the end of the parasha, there's a blood. Which blood? The blood of the Brit Milah. In the beginning, the test was small. Leave your comfort zone. Later on, that test is a little bit of blood, or a lot of blood. Same source, same God. Hashem is going to give each one of us tests in life. The only way we're going to pass the ultimate test is if we understand the small and the big tests are from Him. The good and the bad are from Him. In the end, the good and the bad are also good. They're all good. Everything is good. When we don't understand, it's our lacking, not His. If we follow His law, we bring Him pleasure. If we don't, we bring Him sadness. Bringing Hashem sadness is being a kfui tova, being an ungrateful person. Why? Because all He does is give you good. You give Him nothing. So He's telling you, my son, my daughter, I know it's hard for you to deal with this new reality of not seeing this person every day like you used to. Not talking to this person every day like you used to. I know it's hard. But I promise you, it's the best. And if you can believe me and live like you do, then you have Emunah. If not, you're no different than the rest of the goyim that ask Lama. Why? Why this? Why this? Why did Hashem do this? Why did Hashem do that? Why? They start as goyim, they end as goyim, nothing ever changes. A Jew only says ma. V'anachnu ma. Moshe Rabbeinu says, "V'anachnu ma." Aaron Avinu, Aaron HaKohen says, "V'anachnu ma." What's ma? What? What do you want, Hashem? What are you trying to tell me, Hashem? What should I do, Hashem? How can I make myself better? What else can I do to be better? That's what a Jew says. Lama? Why? Goyim say. It's time for us to be Jews. Any questions?
Does this have anything to do with Hashem telling Moshe telling Aaron, do not cry when his sons died?
Sure. Vaidam Aaron. Aaron was quiet because Aaron understood the same source that brought him happiness, 4 sons, is the same exact source that took them. Took the 2 of them. And Aaron controlled his emotions at the most difficult time in his life. You're also going to see it in a couple of parashot. After Akedat Yitzchak, it says that Avraham Avinu cried a little bit, but it shows that the word cry has a small letter. Small letter. Chazal says because Avraham cried a little bit. He didn't cry a lot. Now, what does it mean he cried a little bit? Why, he didn't love his wife? He loved his wife more than anybody else in the world. Loves their wife. She was his everything. He loved his wife and honored his wife so much that the respect they had between each other is hard for a generation that's so lowly like us to understand. So let's try to explain. In this week's parasha, or last week's parasha, Parashat Lech Lecha, it says that Avraham Avinu suddenly recognized the beauty of Sarah. He says, wow, now I see you're a beautiful woman, the Egyptians are going to take you. If I was Sarah, I'd say, hello, you've been married to me for all these years, now you understand I'm beautiful? Maybe that's why we don't have any kids. What's the matter with you? But the sages explain that was how honorable and modest they were to each other. The modesty between them, even as a husband and wife, limited the amount of vision of how he saw her. She, by accident, showed him a small piece of her leg, her shin, for the first time in his life. For the first time in his life, he said, wow, he saw a sparkling piece of meat. He's like, wow, you're so beautiful. Yeah, but you were with me yesterday, the day before, of 80 years we're together. Never saw it before. Why? That's how modest they were. Even during those intimate times. Even during intimate times. The point is, Rabotai Karim, why would somebody do such a thing? Because he loved her so much. When you love something, you protect it. You protect it with everything. You don't show it to the world. You even protect it from yourself. But still, when she died, he cried a little bit, the Torah says. Why? Because he understood this was the best. If Hashem did it, it was the best. Even though it hurts me, it makes me happy that it's the best. It only hurts me because I lack. Not because Hashem lacks. I lack belief. I don't believe Hashem for everything He says. I'm a loser a little bit. I don't believe everything. Even though He's never lied to me, even though He's never cheated me, even though He's never let me down, I'm a loser. I don't believe everything He says now. Even though He never gave me a reason not to believe Him. I cry because of that. Avraham Avinu, Baruch Hashem, was not like us. But each one of us has his DNA, his makeup. Each one of us has the ability to be an Avraham Avinu. But it takes work. It all starts with Lech Lecha. It starts with little Mesirut Nefesh, getting out of our comfort zone. Then understanding that eventually it's going to require some physical difficulty, some emotional difficulty, some hardship. And that's the real test. That's the real test, Rabotai. But if you want to get Emunah, yes, the books are great. The lectures are great. But the only way you're going to attain it is by overcoming the difficulty. All of these lectures, all of these books, they could inspire you to begin. But the real work is you have to work on yourself. You have to start thinking and start breaking down your own thoughts. Take some time and say, listen, what am I crying about, really? What am I upset about, really? What am I stressed about, really? Let's think about it. I had food yesterday. I have food today. I'm worried about food next week. Next week didn't get here yet. Next week, if I arrive at next week and then I don't have food and my stomach hurts, it's a different story. But next week is not here yet. Why am I worried about next week? Why am I worried about next week? Or something breaks. Oh, I can't believe it broke. Okay, but why are you crying about it? It broke already. You crying is not going to fix it. It broke. You can't do anything about it. It's broken. It'll never be the same. Even if you glue it together. Even if you wish it all you want to come back. It's not going to happen. It's broken. And if you can't do anything about it, why bother yourself and cry? Crying is just going to break more stuff. Crying is just going to break more stuff. Depression is only going to break more stuff. It's not going to repair the damage. You have to stop crying. You have to stop. Just, it's enough. I understand. It's not fun. I understand. Torah understands. Hashem gave the Torah to people. He understood who He's giving the Torah to. He's telling you, you crying is not going to fix it. If anything, it'll ruin more. The same applies with everything else. If we start delving into our own thoughts, we can get out of any hole in the world, any depression, any negative thing in the world. Why? Look, get to the deep root of the problem. The deep root of the problem is that we have no emunah in Hashem. We don't believe what He says, even though He never gave us a reason not to believe Him. Once we realize we have no reason not to believe Him, once we realize we are losers for calling Him a liar, for thinking He's a liar, even subconsciously, immediately, oh, okay, you know what? I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe I called you a liar, Hashem. I'm sorry. My bad. My bad, Hashem. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that's what I was actually doing. I was calling you a liar by crying. I can't. Oh, my bad. Hey, you forgive me? I'm never going to cry again. Why? You never gave me a reason to. You never. What'd you ever do to me? Only good. And as soon as you get to the bottom of the problem, the root of the problem, you realize, wait, I have no reason. It's all from Hashem. It's all from Hashem. Hashem gave me as much money as I need to have. Hashem gave me the wife that I need to have. Hashem gave me the husband I need to have. Hashem gave me the nothing that I need to have. Sometimes you need to have nothing. Sometimes the best gift is nothing. Sometimes the best gift is nothing. Sometimes the best gift is no. Sometimes that's what you need. No. If you believe in Hashem, you believe in Him, you have emunah in Him, you're going to know when there's a no, it's like, thank you Hashem for saying no. Thank you for saying no. But the reality is, Rabotai, the only way you can show Hashem that you believe in Him is not by saying, no, I have emunah, like you're some little, no. The only way is by walking around with a smile, ear to ear, knowing that Hashem is carrying you like the Baal Habayit was carrying the baby. You see the baby worried about anything? Mortgage payment, zivug, parnasah, nothing. The baby's happy. Why? He knows his Abba is carrying him. Carrying him. He has no worries in the world. You need to understand Hashem's carrying you the same way. If you're crying, If you're upset, if you're depressed, that means you don't believe that Hashem is carrying you. You have a problem, you have a mental problem. You have to get to the bottom of it. You have to fix it. But only you can fix it. The books, the lectures, they're supposed to motivate you to fix it. They're not going to fix it for you. You have to fix it. You have to get to the bottom of your thought. Why am I this way? Why am I depressed? Why am I this? Why am I that? Get to the bottom line. Why? And you'll realize it's all nonsense. It's all kfirah. It's all heresy. And if you don't want to be a heretic, you don't want to be full of nonsense, say, enough's enough. Honey, I'm sorry. Hashem, I'm sorry. I didn't know. My bad. Do over. Do over. It's time to start again. It's time to serve Hashem like you're supposed to serve Him. Just like Mordechai Epstein. Gdolador, he also had problems. Baba Sali, Gdolador, had problems. Why, you think you're the only one that has problems? But sometimes you need to be reminded of things you already know. It's time to move on, Rabotai. Next week, we have a shiur, also on Sunday. I don't know if we're going to continue the same series or do others. If you guys have any ideas of things that you want to go over, B'ezrat Hashem will do them. I have a couple of ideas. But I would like to see every single one of you in those shiurim. And I want to see all of you bring some people. In the last lecture, only a couple of you brought somebody. You have to start bringing more people. You have to continue coming yourself. These lectures are the sparks of Kedusha that we need just to survive the week. There's so much difficulty during the week, whether it's Parnasah, Shlom Bayit, the kids, the neighborhood, the this, the that. You're not going to get the same impact watching the shurim online. Yes, it's more convenient to watch a shiur online, stop, go to the bathroom, eat popcorn, start again, fix it, close the deal, do this, do that. Yes, the people that are watching online because they live in Arkansas and Atlanta and Michigan and California and so on, they get the same siyata d'ishmaya as you get sitting here. But you are not going to get the same siyata d'ishmaya if you watch it from home. Why? Because you can come. They can't. If you can come, but you choose not to, you're not going to get the same siyata d'ishmaya watching the shurim and have the shurim address your issues. Because as we learned from the same Gemara Maseret Brachot, if someone wants to inherit Torah, they have to be willing to die for it. What does it mean, die for it? Mesirut nefesh, sacrifice. If you're not even willing to sacrifice a 30-minute drive, a half-hour drive, an hour drive, why do you think Hashem is going to give you anything? We have to push ourselves. Because you look around, you go to Bet Knesset one after another. Everybody's sad. Everybody's miserable. Everybody's jealous. Everybody's stealing. Everybody's the opposite of Torah with the kippah on. Kippah, no kippah, you see people depressed, miserable, sad, all the negative feelings in the Torah. It's like we're getting the 10 makot. Dam, tzfardea, kinim, Shem Yachem. What do you have Torah for then? Everyone's miserable, everybody's sad, everybody's this. Why? Because we're misunderstanding how to use this instruction set. If you have an ounce of jealousy in your heart, you're not using the Torah. If you have an ounce of sadness in your heart, you're not using the Torah. If you have an ounce of depression in your heart, you're not using Torah. Torah is supposed to fix everything. Not by eliminating the problems, but by giving you a reason for each and every single one of them. These shurim are the only way to get it. So B'ezrat Hashem, we'll get some more answers. We have another shiur on Tuesday, the Breslov Center. Wednesday, it's in Miami. I just forgot which one of the two locations, but I'm sure it's online. You guys know better than me. Okay, good. Also got news that the shipment is on the way for the new CDs, B'ezrat Hashem, in about 3 weeks. It should arrive. There's actually also a, for all of those people that like our Kiruv, packages, that have the CDs and so on, we decided to make a special bag for it. So it has a cool bag that the tzaddik next to me designed. Very cool bag that you can actually use more than just once. Little quotes, little divrei Torah. Cool looking bag. This is going to come with our CDs. Anyone that wants to sponsor CDs, now's the time. Anyone that wants to give out CDs in their communities, now's the time to sign up. Let me know who you are, what you are, address, your community, and so on. B'ezrat Hashem, there's going to be a lot of Torah in this next year. We promised Hashem that with all the gifts that He's giving us, we have to pay at least as much as we possibly can. So B'ezrat Hashem, there's going to be more Torah. Hopefully each one of you could bring some people this year. And if every one of us make sure to bring at least 5 people. Everybody knows at least 5 people. If you don't know 5 people, I'll introduce you to 5 people, then you know them. Everybody knows 5 people. If you stand on their head, you're going to bring 5 people to the shiur. If everybody brings 5 people to the shiur, next thing you know, you have a big shiur. If those 5 people bring 5 people, next thing you know, you have a bigger shiur. If everybody actually starts, using the things that they learn in a shiur in their life, next thing you know, we're going to need the Madison Square Garden to give a shiur. The time has come. People are too sad, too miserable, too negative. And it's all because they're missing the understanding of how to use this instruction set. You're not going to get it off of just one simple word, repeating it like a mantra. You're not going to get it by reading one book. You're not going to get it by listening to one lecture. You're going to get it by repeatedly working on yourself after listening to the instructions over and over and over again. And be reminded of the instructions, even if you heard them 30 times already. B'ezrat Hashem, these shiurim will help us do all of that. Any questions? Yeah.
I have 2 questions. One is, time for crying has to end after 3 days. Why is there shiva for 7?
Shiva for 7, that's the halacha. That's what Hashem said. There were a lot, but as far as the crying themselves, I remember when Rabbi Ovadia, alav shalom, cried for Margarit, for his wife. His son was so worried that he was crying so much during those 3 days, they thought he was going to die because he was already older, and he was crying non-stop. After 3 days, suddenly he stopped. Before that, they asked him, Abba, it wasn't like she was 20 years old. It wasn't some tragic accident. Like, why is she crying so much? And his response is, you don't understand Omek Adin. You don't understand the depth of judgment. Right now, she's in Shamayim. They're measuring her every single action she had. That's why I'm crying. After 3 days, how did you suddenly stop? You were crying hysterical, non-stop, uncontrollable. How did you stop? He says, what can I do? Not allowed. That's it. Not allowed. That's it. That's the reason. Not allowed. I'm not crying because I don't feel. I'm not allowed to cry. During the 3 days, it's a mitzvah to cry. After, sin. I don't want to sin. I don't want to go against Hashem. It's almost like literally turning your emotions on, turning your emotions off, like a machine. Yes, a machine that works, serves Hashem. So as far as the ta'amim, why 3 and 7, I don't know them besides that. I just know that the bottom line, halacha, but I'm sure that there is many ta'amim, many different intricate details that the sages have discussed of why 3 verse 7 and so on. I'll find out more next time.
A similar question to this one is that we know at certain times you can't do more for the 3. Say a person dies before Yom Tov or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that maybe an indication that even the 3 is not necessary, or that's like a totally different?
No, I mean, well, the Gemara Masechet Moed Katan says that one of the reasons why people lose their children, Shem Erachem, is if they don't mourn the death of a kosher person. Meaning that there is a punishment from heaven if a kosher person dies and you don't mourn him. that Hashem Erechem makes buses crash full of kids. Cancer, all types of machalot, asonot happen Am Yisrael because people disrespect kosher people. Kosher person doesn't mean a big Talmid Chacham. Kosher person means simply a person that's shomer Torah and mitzvot, that's known to be a kosher person. Not kippah, but a dagger at the same time. You know, it's a kosher person. So if you know that a kosher person died, then you have to mourn. But again, the mourning has to be a limited in a sense that you're appreciating that this person is lost. You're appreciating the fact that there is a very big judgment ahead of that person. You're appreciating the fact that if you felt it, if you saw, if you heard that someone close to you died, that means that you also deserve the punishment. So you're crying for yourself as well. And that's why Shlomo HaMelech says, if you have a choice to go to a party or to go to a house of mourning, go to the house of mourning. Why? Because the house of mourning is where you're going to do tshuva. Because if you're mourning, it's going to remind you that one day you're going to be that person. And the ultimate purpose of a person that's in this world is to do tshuva, no matter what they are, whether they're a rabbi or a student, male, female. Everybody's purpose in the world is to do tshuva. People always ask me, what's my goal in life? The goal in life, the universal goal in life for everyone is to do tshuva. That's why you're in this world. As far as ultimate purpose of how you're going to fulfill that tshuva, whether you're going to do it as a doctor, lawyer, Talmid Chacham, lecturer, all that stuff, that's a different story. But ultimate purpose is to do tshuva, meaning that unless you started doing tshuva, everything else that you're doing is meaningless. If you haven't done tshuva, everything you're doing is meaningless. So, as far as the mourning during those 3 days, it's a time of reflection that you're supposed to reflect on all of those things, what the person is in front of, what you will be, and so on and so forth. Next. Still in shock?
But that's what happens sometimes.
Being in shock.
So you can't even cry the first 3 days.
Okay.
I have an issue with most of what's been said about that. I disagree with almost everything.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Go ahead.
I like to disagree, but I have to.
Disagree, so tell me.
I don't think it has anything to do with Emunah. I don't see it in any possible way saying HaShem, you did wrong. When you go to a dentist, your tooth hurts. It hurts for days. You go to a dentist, he pulls it out, it hurts more. He tells you your tooth is rotten, you gotta pull it out.
Right.
What are you gonna say? You are the one to make the decision, and you're the one that says, I'm gonna make the proper decision. I know it's gonna hurt me to pull it out. You still tell him pull it out. You're still gonna cry about it.
Yeah.
You're in pain. You're crying.
Yeah.
You can't help it.
Yeah.
The same thing.
No.
Somebody gets taken away from, no. You can't tell me no because you haven't been there.
No, it's not the same thing
It's the
because
same thing.
there's ultimate purpose for it.
I understand that Hashem does the ultimate, the best. It's not a question. I'm not questioning his judgment. But I can't help the fact that it hurts.
Hurts.
I
No one is
understand
questioning
the
whether it
doctor is
hurts.
doing the best
No
for
one
me.
says it doesn't hurt.
I
Everybody says it
understand the doctor
hurts.
is doing the best for me. He's pulling out my teeth. I know it's the best. I
Right.
don't have a choice. I decided to do it.
Right.
But the pain is still there. I still am going to cry. Now, for you, you may cry for an hour or two.
Right.
For a girl, she may cry for 3 or 4 hours. For a little kid, he may cry 6 or 7 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Each one gets the pain, just like we said at the beginning. Each one gets the pain different.
Right.
It has nothing to do with doubting that the doctor did it wrong. It has nothing to do with doubting that the doctor didn't do the right choice. The doctor told you have to pull out. It's rotten.
Right.
That's one point. So we can't judge.
No,
And say, no, you gotta cry 3 days and shut off your feelings. People can't just shut off their feelings.
No, he's not saying that there's
Some
not going to be
people-
feelings at all, but the crying is 3 days. The mourning, I mean, a person mourns a person for a year.
You can't choose that. You can't decide that.
Sure you
Your
can.
heart feels what your heart feels.
Yes.
When you're in pain, you can't just say, hey, Mr. Pain, goodbye. And it has nothing to do with telling Hashem, you did wrong. Hashem, you did the best. I know that. I know you did the ultimate best. But it still hurts me. I still miss him. I still want to speak to him. All the things that we want to do with a person.
Right.
That's one, not two. Anybody who's watched one of the millions of shiurim about Gehenom,
Right.
including yours, anybody who's read a little bit of Reshish Chokhmah about Gehenom, would definitely not be happy about anybody of their loved ones dying. Because we don't know what's going to happen up in Shemayim. We know we're going to see them eventually, for sure.
Right.
What are they going to go through before we see them? Now, obviously, like Abu Sharon, he saw his brother, and his brother went to a very good place because he's a tzaddik. Unfortunately, not all of us have people that we know that are tzaddikim.
Right.
We all make mistakes. We all make sins.
Right.
And we know what the judgment is for.
Okay.
So how can we not cry knowing that our family, our loved ones are suffering?
It's not a matter of not feeling
And
pain.
it's not about 12 months. 12 months doesn't have any relevancy to it at all.
12 months what?
That they're suffering for 12 months. It's not relevant. There's no time in Shamayim, so the 12 months can be stretched out into thousands of years. So now we're going to be sitting here, missing the people that we love. Our heart is broken, and they're up there suffering. So how can we not cry about something like this? How do you just tell the heart, hey, Mr. Heart, stop crying? The halakha says, stop crying, I need you to stop crying. And that's it, it doesn't hurt you anymore. It doesn't hurt, but you just chopped off my arm. I'm still bleeding. How can that not hurt? I'm hurting. How can we go and take something like that and flip it around and say, oh, you kafir, you don't believe in Hashem? It's not relevant.
No, it is. It is. I explain to you. First of all, as far as the 12 chodesh, the Gemara says, the 12 months, it's a big misunderstanding. People think that if somebody's a rasha and they get punished, they only get punished for 12 months. Because the Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, page 17a, says a person's a rasha gets 12 chodesh, gets judged for 12 months. But there are certain people that get judged eternally. So how could it be 12 months and how could it be eternally at the same time? So the Ramak explains that 12 chodesh is not a time, but a place. It's the name of a place. The judgment is not 12 months. It's just the name of the place is 12 months. It's like saying 40th Avenue or 32nd Avenue or 12-month street. Same thing. It's just the name of a place. That's one. In regards to a human being has to always understand that nothing is ever done without a purpose. They don't do anything without a purpose. The Creator doesn't do anything without a purpose. Everything has a purpose. So any normal human being is going to try to have whatever they do have a positive purpose, not a negative purpose. Only a sociopath will do something with a negative purpose. You know, like for example, hurt an animal. What good is hurting an animal going to do for you? Nothing. Now, if you're a doctor and you're going, or you're some type of, some type of, I don't know, biologist or something, and you try to come up with some new medicine or something, and you have to hurt the animal by giving it certain tests, certain things, so the animal suffers. Right now, why are you doing it? There's a purpose. What's the good purpose of it? That hopefully a human being will be saved as a result of this animal's pain. Meaning, if you're a sociopath, all you're going to do is just torture the animal for no reason. If you're a good person, what are you going to do? You're going to inflict pain on the animal by giving it certain things in order to create a medicine for a human being. And all of these animal rights activists should stop using medicine if they don't agree with the statement. Why? Because the only reason your medicine works is because they tried it on animals first. You can't try it on humans first. Why? Because you live in a world where you realize that the animal is below the human being. But point being here is that everybody knows that there is a purpose. There's a higher purpose to everything. So just like we understand there's a purpose in things that hurt, we have to understand that there has to be purpose for what we do. When Hashem takes a human being out of this world, of course He knows full well that it's going to hurt the people that love that person. Of course He knows. Yet He still does it. And it also hurts Him. Yet He still does it. Why? It is the better good. There is something that is the ultimate better for that person. Now, does it say that it's not going to hurt? Did we ever say during this, last hour or two that we were talking that it doesn't hurt? No. What we said is that we have to control our emotions by understanding, by bringing our mind to a complete level of understanding that the better good, the ultimate good that will result out of this pain is much greater than the pain. Meaning there will be much more pleasure ultimately than there is pain presently. Why? If, for example, a person lives, and Hashem knows, listen, this guy's going to live another 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, but the way he's going, he's going to make a lot more sins, and he's going to go to Gehinnom and never leave. Or, I'm going to take him now, and he's only going to be punished for less time, or he's going to come back in a Gilgul, or many, many countless options that Hashem has in His infinite world. So yes, it's going to inflict pain on the people that love Him and on Him and so on and so forth, but it's still better than the other option. Anyone that understands that Hashem means well, is good, everything is good, understands that yes, I have pain, but in reality, this is still better than any other outcome that could be. So that complete understanding, real understanding of it, not just theoretical understanding of it, but real understanding of it, should give a person some type of comfort. It doesn't eliminate pain altogether, but it should give the person enough comfort to realize that, okay, it's not all bad. That's step number one. Step number two. We have to always think about what is the purpose of our own actions. Now, once something breaks, there's very little that you can do to fix it. Meaning a real break, not screw is off, you can just replace the screw. Once somebody dies, there's nothing you can do. So what is my actions going to do? Now let's say, for example, I'm crying for myself. I'm crying for myself because I'm going to miss this person. And I miss this person. I want to talk to them and I can't talk to them. And I'm crying for myself. Now what is that really going to do for me ultimately? Let's say I cry for 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 months or even 3 years. Whatever it is. What is the ultimate bottom line positive purpose that that's bringing to my life? What's coming out of that? Am I becoming better? Am I feeling better as a result of crying? No. No, you don't feel better. You don't feel better if you're crying for 3 years. A person that feels better, crying does not make a person feel better if they're still crying forever. It is
always something that happens natural. It's not something we decide, oh, I want to cry now. Let me cry. Now I'm stopping. That's it. I don't cry. It's something that comes by itself.
I understand.
When you're in pain, your body just lets it cry out. After that, you feel better and you move on. Eventually, you build enough pain and you cry again. It's not something we decide. We don't say, oh, I feel like crying now. Wow, what a beautiful sky. I want to cry. It's not about that.
Crying most
when you're in pain, you cry.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but
not because you doubt what Hashem did, not because you're thinking bad, not because you're asking questions, just because you're sad. It's inside. It's out by itself.
So mourning is the better word, where a person is mourning, not just crying, but a person is mourning, meaning he's overall sad and depressed over the loss of a person. What is the benefit of this? Nothing. There is no benefit of mourning a person beyond what is allowed. And the reason why there's no benefit out of it is because mourning at a person for an extended period of time ends up doing no good for the person that left. And even worse for the person that's still here. Why? Because the person that's still here, now he's so busy, or she's so busy, mourning the person that left, they're not able to enjoy what they have left. They're mourning one that left, like the woman in the Gemara Masechet Moed Katan. She mourned one that left. She forgot to enjoy the 6 that are still left. You understand? What's worse? Losing 1 or losing 6? Losing 1 is terrible, but losing 6 is much worse. Everybody understands it. You don't need to be a mathematician. So, if a person continues to mourn, it's not just crying. Crying is just a way of figuratively speaking. If a person is mourning, is depressed, is not able to move forward, is not able to just deal with the positive aspects of life, is not able to appreciate the good that's still there, is just not able to move on, that person is not doing good for themselves. Why? Because they still have other things left that are positive, but they're not able to enjoy the good taste of sugar even, simply because they're too busy focusing on the bitterness of what happened. So now, any person that thinks about it deep enough knows that it's not positive to mourn for an extended period of time for yourself. It's not positive. As far as for the person that left, it's even worse. Why? A person that is not happy, a person that is mourning, a person that's depressed, has a very, very deep gap between them and Hashem. There's a very deep gap. Yaakov Avinu, we're going to learn that his name was changed to Israel. But after Yosef HaTzadik was sold and went to Egypt, and Yaakov believed that he died, his name was turned back to Yaakov. So Torah says, why was his name go back? Why did his name go back from Israel to Yaakov? It says because when he was Israel, he had prophecy. When he was Yaakov, he had no prophecy. So meaning that throughout all the time, 22 years that he didn't see Yosef, he had no prophecy. That's why when his sons came to him and said, "Oh, Yosef Chai, Yosef is still alive," in the beginning he says he didn't believe them. Only after his prophecy came back, when he was called Israel again, did he believe them. Why? Because he was sad. Anytime a person is sad, there's a distance between them. There's a gap between them and Hashem. Now, the person that left the world, obviously, they have their own din in Shamayim, for whatever mitzvot and whatever avirot that they did. Now, if someone cries over them, is that going to help their case in Shamayim? No. If they're wicked, you crying over them in this world is not going to help them at all. If anything, it's going to hurt them. Why? Because if you're crying, you have a very hard time serving Hashem to your fullest potential. Just like Yaakov had a hard time serving Hashem to his fullest potential to the degree of prophet, to being a prophet for 22 years because he was sad about Yosef. So, which means that if a person is still here and is mourning the person that left, they can't really help the person that left as much as they could, as much as they should. So if somebody really cares about somebody that left the world, they would do everything possible to work on themselves, to control, to force themselves to control their own mourning in order not to mourn. Because that's how you get to the highest level of Avodat Hashem. When we truly understand that Hashem's will is the best, it's not just saying it in words, it's the best. It's living like it's the best. It's pretty much saying, okay, this is the best. I have no idea how it's the best because it's absolutely not good for me. But I have to live my life as if it is. Until ultimately Hashem will give me that understanding. Sometimes Hashem gives you that understanding in 5 minutes. Sometimes He gives you the understanding in 5 years. Sometimes He gives you in 50 years. No one's promising you a certain time where you're going to understand everything Hashem says. But nonetheless, saying I have Emunah, saying I have this, saying I have that, that's all words. It means nothing. We all have to practice. We all have to, do something about it. If a person is concerned about another person that left, anybody that left this world, we should be concerned about them. Whether they were righteous and in reality or they weren't is irrelevant. Everybody has their own judgment to face in Shamayim. If we want to help them, we have to find a way to help them when we're happy, not when we're sad. Because when we're sad, we barely want to do any mitzvot ourselves. Barely want to go to shul, barely want to learn, barely want to fulfill any mitzvot. We barely want to do anything when we're sad. So, if a person looks into their own actions, he says, listen, I feel terrible that I lost this person that I love. I missed them. I loved them. I missed them. I loved them. I missed them. I loved them. Okay, if you really missed them and you really loved them, then you want the best for them. Right? You want the best for them. You crying and mourning and crying and depressed and crying and mourning for an extended period of time is not the best for them. You're not doing them any favors. You're not doing them anything good. If they came right now, they'd yell at you. Stop crying. You're not helping me. Do some mitzvot instead. Then you're going to help me. Start a shiur. Have another shiur. Do some mitzvot. Finish the shas. Finish the shas again. Go teach some people. Do some mitzvot. How are you going to do some mitzvot with a long face? How you going to do mitzvot with a long face? You don't want to live, b'chlal. How you going to do mitzvot? So, the point is, if we really love them, then we're going to force ourselves to overcome our own sorrow and start becoming happier. Why? Because that's how we could do mitzvot in their name. That's how we could publicize Torah in their name, and that actually helps them, regardless of what their judgment is. But if we continue being sad, we're not helping them, we're not helping ourselves. In fact, we're destroying both lives. So, a person needs to know, what is the toilet? What is the purpose? What is the positive purpose of my actions? If the Torah says you're not allowed to you're not allowed to mourn beyond a specific time, there has to be a reason for it. It's not because Hashem says, oh no, you're not going to feel sadness anymore. There's no part in the Shulchan Aruch says you're not allowed to be sad anymore. It doesn't say you're not allowed to be sad anymore. It doesn't say you're not going to be sad anymore. Be sad if you want, but that's not what it says. It says you're not allowed to mourn anymore. Why? Because if you're mourning, you can't serve Hashem to the fullest potential. And if you can't serve Hashem to the fullest potential, then you're destroying not one life, but 2 lives, 3 lives, 4 lives, 5 lives, everybody's life. And that's a sin. So, pain, of course it's going to be pain. But we still have to look at what's the point of everything that we're doing. What's the point of keeping mitzvot if we're not going to believe what's the point of all of it? If it's not from Hashem. Hashem says, yes, there's life, there's death. There is a good, there's bad. If a person died, they went to the next world, we want better for them, regardless of whether they were wicked or righteous, is irrelevant. The best thing we can do is move on with our life in a positive way, in order to publicize Torah, in order to do more mitzvot, in order to serve Hashem in a better way. Why? Because the more we serve Hashem, especially if we do it in their name, the better we are, the better they are. But if we don't, if we're continuing to mourn, then we can't move forward, and it's worse for both of us. So then, if a person thinks about it deep enough, if they're not willing to overcome that, they're just simply, no, I'm just going to stay like this until it just goes away by itself. That type of mentality, like my aunt, just didn't want to do anything about it. Didn't want it. Of course, she's sad, you're sad, everybody's sad, everybody has losses. No, there's no questions asked. Nobody says there's no sadness. But a person needs to know that even the sadness has to end at some point. Hashem instilled it in a person that naturally they're not going to be as sad after the first year. Meaning that every sadness that they have after that first year that's similar to how they were in the first year is not a natural sadness. There's something wrong there. And it's not a positive wrong. It's a negative wrong. Which means that a person needs to overcome this huge obstacle in order to get to the next test. But again, your test is your test. I can't pass your test. Just like you can't pass my test. That's why Hashem gives you your test, and Hashem gives me my test. And Hashem gives him his test, and Hashem gives her test, and so on and so forth. Everybody has their own test. You're not allowed to judge a person until you're in his shoes. But that doesn't mean you're not allowed to give him advice. That doesn't mean you're not allowed to say, listen, but this is what Torah is. This is what Torah says. If Torah says it, that means it's true. Point is that even though every part of the Torah is difficult, every part of the Torah is difficult, we still have to do it. Still have to do it. There's no, oh yeah, it's difficult, you don't have to do it anymore. So, ultimately, if you're crying for yourself, it's not helping at all. Why? Because not crying physically, but the mourning is only creating more destruction for you. It's not helping the situation. Things won't get better as a result of extending the mourning. I have a friend that his father died when he was a kid. He was maybe 8 years old. And he grew up with a stepfather. And he had a relatively normal life. Went to school like everybody else. Had his own tests, difficulties, ups and downs, whatever it was. But at age 18, he found out that his father didn't die a natural death like he thought for the last 10 years. His father killed himself. And this changes perspective. Changes perspective. The outcome is the same. Father died. The fact that he killed himself makes it more horrible if you want to, imagine the certain details and so on, but nonetheless, this affected him. Now, if it affected him for a week, a month, a year, 2 years, okay, it affected him. You move on, you get married, you have kids, you tell the story to your kids, don't ever do what my father did, and you move on with your life. But 20 years later, 20 years have passed since he found out, he still tells the same exact story. Oh yeah, my father did da-da-da-da. He still hasn't been married, still doesn't have any stability in his life, still acts like he's a college kid, nothing has changed. Why? Because something that I believed wasn't true, and something changed. Again, this is not lack of sensitivity to his feelings, but it doesn't make any sense. It's not good. It's not a healthy way to go about life to continue mourning for something that you can't do anything about. You have to move on. You still have life to live. If one life ended, it doesn't mean that you have to end another one. You have to ruin another one, or another 2, or another 5. You have to move on with life. Life is hard for everybody. Life is difficult. Everybody has their own tests. Doesn't give any one of us a right to just because we have a hard time that we're just going to continue, being in a state of depression. We have to move on. That's why Hashem continued to give us life. But He gives us also a very, very scary warning that if we mourn too much, He'll give us a reason to mourn. Just like Am Yisrael mourned when the Meraglim, the spies, came back from the land, and they told us, oh yeah, this land eats its people, and everybody started crying, and Hashem says, oh, you cried for no reason, now I'm going to give you a reason to cry. Now, they didn't cry for no reason. They cried because they believe that the land is not good. That's a reason. But Hashem says, no, it's not a reason. It's not a reason. Why? I said it's good. That's enough of a reason for you to believe it's good. Yeah, but we don't believe it's good. That's a problem. I say that taking away somebody's life from this world early is good. The fact that you're crying too much means that you don't believe me. I'm going to punish you for it, he says. So again, the Gemara is not talking lightly about it, saying, oh no, this is, if you can't pass it, that's no big deal. Hashem keeps us in this world specifically because He wants us to continue. Continue serving Him to our fullest potential, continue aiming to become Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And to deal with suffering, to deal with difficulty. You look at all of the Gedolei Hador, every single one of them had suffering in their life. Big suffering. Children dying, spouses dying, everything. We're not the only ones. But they continued. Rabbi Yochanan had 10 sons die. He kept the tooth of the last one. They asked him, how come, Kvod Harav, how come you keep the tooth of the last one? He says, because anytime somebody's son or wife or husband dies, I tell him, I feel your pain. He's like, how do you feel that pain? He's like, oh, I see this, all I have left, this tooth is all I have left for my 10 sons. So they understand, I'm mourning with them. They understand, I feel their pain, but it doesn't mean that I'm giving them a right to continue mourning forever. Just like I finished mourning my 10 sons, you finish mourning your one. You have to finish. You have to move on. Why? Because Hashem left you in this world to continue serving Hashem. It's better for you. It's better for the person that left or was taken from the world. It's better for everybody. And as far as Gehenom and Gan Eden, the only thing that we can do is mitzvot so we can improve our own status and other people's status. Being worried about it or crying about it, that it exists, that somebody's in it or somebody's not in it, that's not helping the situation. If somebody's in a fire and you see them You're like, oh wow, I can't believe you're in a fire. Oh wow. What are they gonna say to you? Idiot, pull me out. Pull me out. What are you crying for? This is not the time to cry. Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, they were Yam Suf. Everybody's crying. No, let's go fight the Egyptians. No, let's commit suicide. No, let's go become slaves. No, let's do this, let's do that. So Moshe Rabbeinu starts crying to Hashem at Yam Suf. Hashem, what are we going to do? Hashem says to him, Mati tzak elai. What are you screaming to me for? Go talk to Am Yisrael and move forward. This is not the time. It's not the time to cry forever. I'm in a fight. You're scared somebody's in Gehenom. You're scared somebody's not in Gan Eden. You're scared there's bad for them. Stop crying then. Stop crying. It's not helping them. Get them out of the fire. Get them out of the fire. That's what they would tell you. That's what they would tell you. The crying's not helping them. At all. So if you love them, stop crying. If you love yourself, stop crying. If you're crazy, continue. You put two for mitzvot. But again, this is what's necessary. Hopefully, we take part of it and affect it. I mean, and apply it. It's the only way to move forward. Do you think there's any other way? I'm asking. You think there's another way, a better way?
There is no better way. Just dealing with it. Each person takes his time. Some people it takes faster, some people it takes longer. But each one has to deal with it. And
So-
3 days crying, some people it takes them a lot more than 3 days to even understand what just happened before they even start crying. So, some people don't cry for 3 days. You can't, you just can't cry. It just doesn't come out.
Okay, past the year also?
Each one takes his own time.
But do you think Hashem knows this?
Of course he knows this.
So he gave the laws for everybody the same though. Kaddish is only 1 year.
That's a different subject. We'll talk about this different
Why?
time.
If we're mourning, the laws of mourning apply for everybody.
Mourning is one thing, is crying. Crying is another thing.
Said that we're talking
Two
about the
different issues.
what we're talking about is
things.
we're talking about mourning. Crying, you want to
Mourning
cry?
is one thing.
Cry. We should cry
said
every
crying.
day of our life.
We said mourning. We didn't say crying. We said crying, not mourning.
What?
Mourning, obviously, you mourn your time and you move on. Mourning is a choice. Crying is not a choice. And I've said that before.
No.
Crying is not a choice.
Right,
Mourning
what
is
I'm-
a choice.
right, but what
you decide, I'm going to mourn 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Now I'm stopping to mourn. I move on with my life. But crying is not something.
Mourning is something that overtakes everything. Crying
Huh?
is a emotion.
It depends. If you let it take over you.
Mourning is something that overrides everything and takes over everything. That's the definition of mourning. If someone's in mourning, it's completely taken over. They're completely in it, constantly, 24/7.
But that's something you can help. That's something you can jump out of.
Crying-
After a while, you can move. You can choose to stop it. That's something you can choose.
But that's what he's
Crying,
saying.
no. My argument is crying.
I have
That
a
the
question.
halacha says crying. Doesn't say more.
Crying is an expression
Crying.
of mourning.
No.
It is.
Crying is something that happens naturally. You can't stop it.
Crying is
If
an
I take a
expression
baseball
of
bat and
mourning.
hit somebody in the head, he's going to cry. He cannot help it. He cannot stop it. The pain makes him cry.
But there's different
Mourning
types
is
of
something
crying.
else.
Different types of crying.
Right, we're talking about more. We're talking about more.
Crying is an expression of mourning as well.
Right, but we're talking about more.
Pain,
We're
inner
talking
pain.
about the mourning aspect of it. Crying is an expression of mourning. That's the normal understanding of crying as an expression of mourning.
But sometimes you cry not because of your mourning. Sometimes you cry because
Right, but
you
in
have a
this
memory. You
relevant
sit there,
relevant
you
to
start
the
in your walls
conversation.
as a man, you start with memories, you go down memory lane, and you start crying. It's not about mourning. You're happy. Sometimes you know the person is in
No,
a
but-
good place, and you're
Right,
happy.
but relative to the conversation we're having, everybody understands that crying when we're saying crying, we're in essence implying that it's about mourning, because we're not talking about somebody crying because he fell and he hurt his knee. That's not what was the conversation for the last 2 hours.
But that's
We're
what
not-
I argued in the beginning.
The-
And that's why I argued it. Because my understanding was crying. It wasn't about mourning. It was about crying.
But we're talking about the laws of mourning. I mean, that's the,
Right,
the
no, but
key.
mourning is different. Mourning obviously is something you
Okay,
can...
okay.
Mourning is a choice.
No, mourning. Yeah,
Mourning you can pull yourself out whenever you decide.
right, but the thing is,
Crying
though,
is
is that
something else.
But being depressed is what then?
That's mourning.
That's mourning.
That's mourning.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about.
That's a choice. Being depressed is a choice. You can decide, enough. I'm coming out of it, enough.
Okay.
That's it.
So that's it. That's what we're talking about.
Crying is something else.
Crying, a person should cry every time they pray. A person should cry constantly. But there's different reasons to cry. If a person is crying because of a loss, then that means that their mourning is not complete. They're still mourning. If they may be able to control their mourning in a certain way, where certain times they're expressing their mourning one way, certain times they're not expressing it, but if they're still crying for the same loss that happened many years ago, that means that their mourning is truly not complete. They're still mourning. It's like having a pneumonia. Sometimes a person has standing pneumonia. Standing pneumonia means that you have the actual virus, but you're still able to function until you completely collapse and you have to go to the hospital and have a surgery. But the point is that you could have standing pneumonia for 6 months or a year even. Whereas the pneumonia that people go to the hospital, they could have it for a week and they're in the hospital. Both are the same virus, but there's a different way that affects certain people. Point is that if a person is crying because something good happened in their life, that's not the same crying we're talking about. Person is crying because they got hurt physically, that's not the crying we're talking about. If a person is crying for a loss that they had in their life, somebody died in their life, that's part of mourning. If they stopped crying, they stopped mourning, but they continued to cry for the same loss that they had, that's still mourning. It's not they didn't stop mourning, they never stopped mourning. It's just that now they're expressing their mourning in a different way. It's not full time, 24 hours a day. It's 2 hours a day. It's 3 hours a day. It's a half hour a week, whatever it is. So again, it all depends on the reason behind why they're crying, how often they're crying. The key is to understand mourning. Mourning is a state of depression that a person needs to get themselves out of. That's the key. Person must get themselves out of that depression, because by being in that depression, a person is going to destroy their life and not going to be able to move forward. And he's not doing good for himself, he's not doing good for the people that are around him, and he's not doing good, or she's not doing good for the people that left. That's what a person needs to understand. We say crying simply because of a figure of speech. It's the way that people understand mourning is by crying. Either way, it's there is no other better way to get over it by simply understanding the depth of why we're even here. If we understand that HaShem picked the best choice, and even if that best choice hurts us, it makes it a little easier to overcome the mourning, to overcome the sadness faster. Doesn't make it not hurt. Doesn't make it not there. It's there. But at least we know that there's greater good than bad in the end. On the other hand, if we don't understand that, then we could cry for the smallest thing for the rest of our life. That's why there's certain people that have traumatizing experiences that they simply do not allow themselves to get over. It's not that they don't get over it. They don't allow themselves to get over it. I'll give you an example. Which, by the way, is signifies a deeper psychological problem. It's not nothing to do with just that problem. There's one particular person I've been trying to help. She's upset that she's adopted. She's upset that she's adopted. Even though when she was adopted, originally she was a baby, and she didn't know that she was adopted, because she was a baby. And the Ben Ish Chai says that until 6 years old, a person is the equivalent of a monkey at best. So you don't have your own opinion, your own nothing, till 6 years old, even if you're cute. So, but she's upset that later on in her life, when she found out she was adopted, that she didn't have a real parents. But now she's, 30, 40, 50 years old, whatever she is, but she's upset about her being adopted. How's that helping her life? It's not. It's actually destroying everything around her. It's actually making her a very, very intolerable person to the people around her. And it's making her a very vicious person in many aspects. But the point is that she thinks that she's doing good by being, because of our trauma, that she was adopted. Other people have other traumas, obviously, that are much worse, that are real traumas, that, whether it be rape or murder or whatever it is, that people, HaShem and HaShem, go through in their life. But again, if you're still alive, the Torah instructs you to get over it. Not get over it because it doesn't hurt. Get over it because you're still here, which means that you still have a purpose in the world. You still have a mission in the world, and you have to fulfill it. You cannot fulfill it by being busy with trauma. You can't. I'm not telling you all these things about depression because, of just, I read it in books. I dealt with it my whole life. And it's not easy. I understand pain. There's a lot more that you guys don't know, that I never say, that I've gone through in my life. And I can tell you for sure, it's not an easy thing to get over pain, to get over suffering, to get over depression. Without Torah, it's impossible. Without Torah, it's impossible. But if you call yourself a Yehudi, or Yehudiyah, a Ben Torah, a person that learns Torah, a person that fulfills Torah, and at the same time you're depressed, at the same time you're mourning for an extended period of time, there's something wrong. It's an oxymoron. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. The only way to get out of depression is with Torah. The only way to get into depression is without Torah. Meaning that if you have real Torah, it's not possible for the depression to exist. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. Not that you never learned real Torah, not that you're a kofir. I'm not saying that, chas v'shalom. What I'm saying is that it's something is here. You have to bring it here. There's something missing. The point being, Abotai, is that the difficulties is something we all have, but Torah is the instruction set to get us out of it. Not by making it disappear, simply by making us understand that there is a higher purpose for everything. Hopefully these last shiurim, this last year's shiurim helped a little bit, some of you. I know it helped me a lot. And I'm hoping to see all of you plus 5 on each one. In the other place, we can fit quite a few people in the other place as well. To continue the shiurim here in Ventura, in Miami, and many other places. But again, ultimately, Rabotai, all of these shiurim, all of the books, all of the things, all of the CDs are supposed to motivate you to do cheshbon nefesh, to do accounting on yourself, and then to apply it. I could talk until I'm blue in the face. If after I leave, or the next day, you're not taking the things that you learned and starting to apply them to your life, then all we did is be entertained. You're entertained by the sound of my voice for some strange reason. That's it. We didn't do anything about it. If you're not taking the stuff that we say and applying it to your life, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your life. You have treasure being given to you, and instead of bringing it to the safe, bringing it to the bank, cashing it in, what are you doing? You're throwing it in a garbage pail for Monday morning for the sanitation department to pick it up. You have treasure given to you every single day. Every single time we have a shiur, there's something new, there's something that you can use. You don't use it, you're wasting it. So you have to cheshbon nefesh. Each one of us has something that we took from the shiur, or else Hashem wouldn't give me the words to say. Bezrat Hashem, each one of us will take some stuff from the shiur. Maybe not all of it applies to you. Maybe not even 95% of it. But the 5% that does, take it. Use it. Apply it. See what happens in a week. See what happens in a month. See what happens in a year after you apply it. And then go from there. Some of you, the whole shiur applies to you. Use the whole shiur. Whatever you remember out of it. Either way, you have to do something. You have to do something. We cannot stay exactly where we are. If you're here, that means you need to hear this. Any more questions?
Isn't a sick person supposed to pray for themselves to get better? Considering that a sick person cannot praise Hashem and has an obligation to praise Hashem. Everybody does. So if he won't pray for himself, for what is he continuing what he's doing?
Every person has to pray for themselves. It's what we see our Avot HaKadoshim. We see Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov constantly pray for themselves. Yaakov cried to Hashem, please, Hashem, just give me enough food to eat, a shelter, and clothing. We see Moshe Rabbeinu crying to Hashem, say, Hashem, please, don't pick Korach over me. Don't listen to his prayers, and so on and so forth. We see all Avot HaKadoshim. We see David HaMelech wrote Sefer Teilim, all praying to Hashem. So every person is supposed to pray to Hashem. That's the point of prayer, is to pray to Hashem for our own issues, our own lackings, while at the same time praising Hashem for giving us those lackings, those tests, those difficulties, and so on. Point being is that, yeah, of course, every person should pray for themselves, but also a sgula to get your own problems fixed is by praying for your friends' problems to be fixed. So if, let's say, for example, if you struggle monetarily, pray for one of your friends for his problems to be fixed. You pray for others, Hashem will fix your problems also. So of course you should pray for yourself and for others. But yeah, of course, every person should pray for themselves. Beseder Rabotai, Bezod Hashem on Tuesday. Hopefully I'll see all of you with some more people. Thank you again for the Bala and Balat Abayit, the family, the kids, for hosting us for this last year. Bezod Hashem, the shiur will continue bringing merits to them, to their lost ones, to their loved ones. Bezod Hashem, is going to be an enormous amount of Torah continue to happen in this series, in this for their schut. Hopefully I see you guys we're not that far, we're only 20 minutes away. If you want to ride, I'll take you. I'm only 5 minutes away. So just because shiur is not in this house doesn't mean that you're not coming. So Bezod Hashem, I'll see you guys in the other location, and Bezod Hashem, we'll continue publicizing Torah to get Am Yisrael to wake up, overcome their problems, and Lakdish Shem Shamayim. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen ve'amen.